am I speaking to right now?
Cameron.
My name
Cameron.
is
Cam Buford.
We got some good questions today.
I'm a Dolphin fan.
There's always room for improvement.
This is a big year for Tua to prove that he's a franchise quarterback.
I'm more a fan of boxing. Boxing is my main sport.
I'm not worried about him right now. I'm worried about Crawford. I'm trying to get that fight made.
As a competitor, how much does that competitive spirit get in there and say, I want to fight this guy. I want to get some of this guy?
Of course, I want to fight all the guys. Of course that. But at the same time, like I keep telling you, it's a business.
Once you finish him off, do you feel you get the credit and the respect you deserve there?
It really don't matter. I'm just on a mission to become the best, welterweight in the division. After I get him, I want to fight the next best guy, the next best guy, the next best guy. And then once I clear the division, I'm going to move up.
Think about it like this. The promoter pays the fighter. The fighter pays the manager.
Okay.
So the manager works for the fighter, and the fighter works
for the promoter. Okay.
If you can see, you can believe.
So you are lifting weights currently? No. When he said it's easier to score in the NBA versus Europe, did you agree with them?
To me, it's easy to score all over the world.
What's good, fans? My sound went out. Did sound go off for you guys?
No.
Works for me.
Can you hear me?
I got you.
You guys can't hear me?
I can.
I got you.
My sound went out. You're good. What's good, fans? Thank you guys for tuning in. Voice of the Fans. Got special guest, Mr. Tyler Dragon. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I love the intro you two have. I'm glad to be part of it.
I can't
You
hear
can't
you.
hear me?
I can't hear you.
I can't hear you.
I hear you.
But now I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, fans. I cannot hear nobody. Can you hear me?
I got you.
I can't hear you guys at all. I don't know, my sound went out. Oh my goodness. My sound went out. I don't know what happened. Oh my goodness. Shoot. I don't even know what to do. Mute the mic. Can you hear me now? Guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
You not hear me? No?
Yes.
You guys cannot hear me? I hear myself. Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Yes.
I can't. Cleavon, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I can't hear you. I cannot hear you. Hello?
Gotcha.
Tyler, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Bad start. I'm sorry about this, guys. Bad start. All right, fellas. Terrible start. I was trying to do too much. I was trying to cut up some videos, man. I was trying to do a little too much for the show. So, Mr. Tyler, thank you for making time for us. I got a lot of questions for you, big guy. We're gonna talk a heavy NFL. Although it's the off season, the NFL never stops. So we're gonna talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
First
Okay.
and foremost, as we start our show each and every week, we got to play our numbers game. Being June 20th, 2023. The number 20, Cleavon. When you think of the number 20, who comes to your mind first? Who wore that number best?
Comes to mind first is the 206 King, Gary Payton. The person that wore it best is Barry Sanders.
And Mr. Tyler, I asked you the same question. When you think of the number 20, who do you think of first?
Instantly thought of Barry Sanders, probably the best running back of all time. Definitely top three. And Barry Sanders has to be.
What about Billy Sims? Billy Sims wore 21st, though. No Billy Sims? He's not.
Billy Sims ain't Barry Sanders.
I don't know why my fucking self wore it now, guys. I'm crazy. This is wild. Yeah.
Can't hear you.
When you think of the number 46, that's a tougher one. What do you think of when you think of the number 46? This is week 246 of the Voice of the Fans podcast. That's a tougher one. You all know him. I know you know him as an AFC fan, Cleveland.
When I think of the number 46, the person that comes to mind first is Lee Smith, and I think he wore it the best.
Lee Smith, yeah, Lee Smith in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
He is in the Hall of Fame?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Tyler, when you think of the number 46, what you got?
I don't think anybody comes off the top of my head with 46.
I hated this guy with a passion. I hated this guy with a passion. Over the middle, it seemed like he was open every time. Whoever wanted to throw to him.
Didn't Alfred Morris wear number 46?
Alfred Morris did wear 46. That's a one. That's a good one. I didn't think of that one. He did wear 46.
But Cam is more upset about the tight end that used to just streak across the middle and just could never be stopped. The cat named Todd Christensen just was just always open. I couldn't believe it either. Like, why is he always open?
Was never a Todd Christian fan. There wasn't a Raider fan, so that helped. The Todd Christian it just seemed like whether you double teamed them, triple teamed them, he'd go run that little 10-yard button hook and he'd be open every single time. Every first down, he must at one point, I'm sure he had the most receptions for a first down. All right, man. I'm gonna try.
46. That's not a good looking number, though. I have to admit.
He wasn't a good looking tight end either, but he was effective. It was effective. Hey guys, so part of the right now this we didn't hear you guys have seen the opening to the show, but I had this conversation with Terrell Davis 3 years ago this summer, and I'm gonna play you a part of it. Let me know if you guys, I need to know if you guys can hear this or not, but this is a part of it. It's very relevant even to this day. Go ahead, I'm gonna play this.
And that's why
you wouldn't get a good bite of that apple.
Well, that's why I'm speaking on it, because thank God for me, I was allowed to redo my deal after year one.
Oh, wow.
And the players can't redo their deals now. So they need to just go back to the old thing and let players redo their deals. But it's more than that. I mean, there's things tied into it with the CBA. But I think there needs to be an exemption for running backs. Where it's like, listen, man, if your team is willing to negotiate your deal, then they should be able to do it for a running back position, because we don't have that long life expectancy.
But that is true. That exemption would be kind of tricky. That's true because
why would it be tricky?
Who knows? Because not everybody's like you, or not everybody's like Zeke. Not everybody can carry that for 3 or 4 years.
Right. So what I'm saying is, a team don't have to do it.
Yeah.
They don't have to redo your deal. But if you
just severely outperform it.
You tell me the last 3 years Zeke is being paid peanuts.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? He should have been paid.
I got you.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
So now he's got 3 years. He put on his work, and now he's got 2 more years that he may still not be paid.
So, guys, I mean, that was, again, 3 years ago. And not that I thought TD was off his rockers, but I thought he was being obviously a little biased to his running back position. This was still coming off a couple of years ago when they tried to make the quarterbacks have their own kind of union. I think that was probably 4 or 5 years before the quarterbacks try to have their own union. But today, one of the reasons I want to talk to you, Tyler, is see what your thoughts on why is the running back so depressed, the position so depressed nowadays. Again, that conversation was 3 years ago, and it's just kind of went downhill since then. What's your thoughts on that?
Terrell Davis, one of my favorite running backs of all time. TD, great initials, by the way.
But I see why you're biased on that. Before you go on, some people thought he was a system running back. What's your thoughts on that, real quick? Was he a system guy?
No, he a Hall of Fame. There are no system players in the Hall of Fame.
Enough said.
Enough said. He is a Hall of Fame running back, Super Bowl MVP. We just saw Shannon Sharp, his send off and Undisputed. He gives Terrell Davis a whole lot of props as an engineer. the Broncos offense along with John Elway. They don't win 2 Super Bowls if it wasn't for Terrell Davis. He had a short prime, but that prime, he was arguably the best running back in the NFL. So
I knew that, but some people needed to hear it. So from an unbiased. Thank you for breaking that down. But back to the topic. Why do you think the running back position has been so depressed over the years?
Oh man. So first of all, I do agree with Terrell Davis. I love his exemption idea to allow running backs the opportunity to renegotiate their contract even before it expires, especially if they're on their rookie deal. And really, when you look at the NFL in recent years, you can go all the way back to 10, 15 years. The running back position has really been devalued. And it's for multiple reasons, but the main reason.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I wouldn't say it's been devalued because the coaches and they still know you need to run the ball. You need to run the ball to win the game. So it hasn't been devalued. I would say it's just underappreciated is I think probably a better word. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So the reason why I say devalued, a team that you know really well, the Los Angeles Chargers, they win that game against the Jacksonville Jaguars if they establish the run in the second half. And you look at all the teams around the National Football League, the way the offenses are catered, most of them, like 90% of them, are pass-happy offenses. You pass 70% of the time, even more sometimes. But back in you can go to the 80s, most recently, even the early 90s, it was established to run, have a really good defense, and then build your team that way. And a lot of times the running backs were the best players on the team. We just got done talking about Terrell Davis. You look at Barry Sanders. We just got done talking about him. They were the best players on that team, and the offenses were catered through them, and that's where their offenses were built upon. Nowadays, how many offenses around the league are built towards the running back?
No, you're absolutely right.
Maybe.
You're absolutely
Derrick
right.
Henry and the Tennessee Titans.
Well, we could just look at the Super Bowl, though. The team who just won the Super Bowl, they won the Super Bowl because they were able to run the ball effectively. They won the Super Bowl because the quarterback took off for 25 yards and picked that yards up on the ground. They won the Super Bowl because they gave the ball to a 7th round draft pick. So,
but you are making my point. The teams that still have a running identity and teams that still make a concerted effort to establish the run, those are the teams that more than likely are hoisting the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the year. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers did it when they had, Leonard Fournette with the aging Tom Brady. And the Kansas City Chiefs most recently did it. Now, yes, the Rams are kind of an outlier, but they had in that 4th and 1 play, Cooper Kupp ran the ball on the end around sweep. It wasn't a pass. So you have to be able to establish the run. And nowadays, the NFL has become just more spread out and more pass happy, just air raid type offenses, run and shoot type offenses, and West Coast offenses that just forget about running the football.
Is that part of officiating? Is some of that officiating? I mean, they made the passing game so many rules against the defense where it's easier to just complete a pass versus run the ball. I'm just kind of spitballing here, but I totally agree with you. I agree with Terrell. I just thought that situation would be kind of tricky, as I thought the quarterbacks kind of forming their own union would be just as tricky. It would be kind of tricky to separate the running back from the rest of the players, because then the defensive end going to say, hey, well, we chase down the quarterbacks. Our sacks are more critical. So it's a lot of reasons, but that reason that would be tricky. But just spitballing, do you think some of that is because of the officiating, the rule changing?
I think it does have something to do with the rule changing, because the NFL game is less physical now. because of all the concussion lawsuits and trying to get the head out of the game. So a lot of teams, and the way the game is called, is less physical, more spread out, more about speed, less about power. And running the football, it's hard to be a finesse team and be a really good running team. Running is about power and technique and imposing your will on your opponent. Teams don't really impose their will on opponents anymore. It's all about speed, finesse, quickness, being able to, outmaneuver teams with play calls and the schemes. And that's what the NFL is transitioning to. Now, it's not a bad thing, but it's more, I guess, for the casual fan, throwing the football is more exciting. That's why the NFL rules protect the quarterback.
And it puts more points on the board. It puts more points on the board
and that's
as well.
More exciting to casual fans.
Yeah, but here's another reason I think is that as you talk about, it's about imposing your will. You have to practice that. You have to grit it and grind it in practice. And with the practice rules being so relaxed as they are nowadays, as opposed to what it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, even 20 years ago. That they're not putting in those hard days of practice or just pounding each other in practice, so then they can go ahead and pound them in the game. So they're not prepared for that, and that's potentially another reason. Cleveland, your thoughts on that before we continue?
I think it's two-part. I think on the one hand, it is the car crash syndrome that happens at the running back position. You just run up against the wall far more times than anyone else on the field, other than kickoffs. Who really takes that type of punishment and pounding over and over again. If you're asking them to do it 30, 35 times a game, they're just going to wear down and break down. Secondly, it is the hypocrisy of the NFL, in which I harken back to the DeMarco Murray contract situation. The Dallas Cowboys weren't going to give him the money because he hadn't proven that he could be a durable running back. So he goes out and has the most yards in the league and the most carries in the league. And they won't give him the money because he's taken too many hits. He's been used too much. So it's like, okay, so you want me to go out and do this, but then if I go out and do this, I did that too much. And so now my shelf life is not what you're anticipating. So you're not going to give me the money. So even if I don't do it, you're not going to give me the money. And if I do it, you're not going to give me the money. So there's no winning for running backs. And in addition, running backs just don't play as long as they used to. So, you don't get those Curtis Martin, Jerome Bettis type running backs very often anymore. Frank Gore type running backs very often anymore. Typically you get more of like a Todd Gurley or someone of kind of that.
Terrible example.
Where you get like 6 or 7, potentially good years, and then you get kind of like a third down back after that. So I think that they're in a bad position with regards to the Terrell Davis. Can we renegotiate after 1 year? That gets very complicated because it also depends on where that player was picked, right? Because if they're a 4th or 5th round pick, you can renegotiate, but as the collective bargaining agreement currently stands, there's a certain level that you can even renegotiate at that point. So it's hard for them. I feel bad for them. I don't think that they're devalued. I think it's just it has become a situation where they just don't feel like they're going to play very long. So therefore, paying them commensurate with what they're doing is kind of hard to do.
Well, we have the situation, to both of y'all's point, is Josh Jacobs, who led the league in rushing in his 4th year, I think it was, Tyler. And now he's tagged in his 5th year, a franchise tag. Saquon Barkley, although Saquon turned down a bigger deal last season, he's at least Jacobs has been fairly injury prone. Barkley's suffered a couple injuries that held him out of some games, but there's no reason why Jacobs shouldn't be having a contract redone. Not only has he led the league in rushing a couple years, I think, in his 4 years in the league, but he's been a pretty effective back, although the Raiders haven't done kind of what they should have done as a team. He, as an individual, has been pretty effective. And then we have the Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, Kareem Hunt. These are solid backs who are just, sitting at home waiting for the right opportunity. I can't say they're waiting for the phone call. They've probably been called. They're just waiting for the right opportunity. So that speaks to all of our point. And there's something you can touch on. You can follow up on for USA Today, Mr. Tyler, is what Terrell said a couple of years ago. Again, that's the evidence. That was 3 years ago that he said that, and it's just showing even more of the fact today. And then I want to ask you about the Austin Eckler situation, where he tried to go test the market. Now, this kid has scored, 38 touchdowns since 2017, if I remember correctly. The most in the league, and he goes to test the market, and nobody wants to touch him. Nobody wants to touch him or talk to him. And then he comes back hand in hand, and the Chargers give him I want to say a couple of dollars, but it's just short of $2 million extra. But for a running back, that's kind of peanuts, right? Even though he was an undrafted free agent, he made it to the point where he gets a 4-year deal, and now he's at the end of the deal. He's saying, "Hey, I produced each and every year," which he has. He wants a little bit better contract, and they're like, "Yeah, Austin, we only got so much for you." What's your thoughts on, and how does that? I'm going to get into the relationship situation as well, but how do you think that impacts Austin as a player? Well, I don't think it impacts, knowing him how I know him, I don't think it impacts him as a player to go out there and give it at all. But it doesn't look well for the other running backs coming up, either in their first or second year coming out of college. It doesn't spell well for them at all. What do you think about that, Tyler?
So I see both sides, and this is why I agree so much with Terrell Davis, how running backs probably need an exemption on their rookie deal, or even maybe their second deal, to be able to renegotiate and sign a new deal. And because you look at Austin Eckler's situation, he vastly outperformed his contract since he's been with the Chargers as an undrafted free agent. So he was not paid that much. And then he signed his quote unquote big deal, his second contract. But even then,
24 years,
he
$6 million a year.
But then, he has proved he's a top 10 running back in NFL. I don't think there's a debate there. And you look at the Chargers' perspective, he's about to turn 28 years old, and the running back track record is, once you're approaching 30 or on the other side of 30, you pretty much fall off a cliff. Or if you don't fall off a cliff, you're past your prime. And you're not the same running back. A few years ago, it was 30. A few years ago, it was 30. Now it's approaching 30. Right. But I mean, if you look at recent history with running backs, it's true. The evidence supports that. So from the Chargers' perspective, they're like, okay, you're still a productive running back. You're probably top 10, but maybe after this year, after next year, you're probably not going to be that type of player anymore. Oh, and by the way, we still have to pay Justin Herbert a massive contract that's going to break our bank. So I see both perspectives. And so that's why from Austin Eckler, and if Terrell Davis, if that, I hate to just use his name over and over again, but if that rule was ever come to effect, he would have been able to negotiate a contract, a few years ago when it was evident that he outperformed his deal. And that's the same thing with maybe, all the other running backs that, are trying to get new deals. Josh Jacobs. Barkley. Yes, Barkley has been injury prone, but he's the best player on the Giants.
Exactly.
Definitely on offense. And before the Raiders got Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs was their offense. So, I mean, you can make an argument for all these running backs that they're deserving, but on the other side,
from Alabama, by the way, Josh Jacobs from Alabama, against Alabama running.
But when you look at it, I feel bad for the running backs because I definitely see their perspective, and it's just a short lifespan for them to be effective and for them to cash in.
Well, I'm going to shoot you that link to the video, man. You could definitely use that and dig a little deeper on that since that's right up in your wheelhouse, because it's amazing to me how that is still relevant to this day, and it's only went downhill since Davis made that comment to me. But the relationship deal, so Eckler's a stand-up dude. He's going to give it his all. He's betting on himself to have an outstanding year so he can next year get another deal. But that kind of puts a strain on the relationship, doesn't it? And do you think from what you've seen, I don't know if you went to OTAs at all, but I haven't even followed up to see if Staley's been asked this, is Spiller ready? Is Isaiah Spiller ready to take over? Because I don't think Kelly's an adequate fill-in. Is Isaiah Spiller ready to take over that spot?
So I did stories on OTAs, and I did attend Chargers OTAs for 2 days. And Eckler was there, and he pretty much took the first team reps. And it's hard to kind of gauge, the running back's readiness and evaluate them without any pass. Isaiah Spiller was out there. He didn't have a pass, neither did any other position players. So I'm not going to really give him a fair evaluation. But it was definitely evident that Eckler is the number one running back, and he's going to get the lion's share of the snaps going forward. Now, next year, Eckler, during his press conference, he pretty much said, this is my last year in LA in a Chargers uniform. And I mean, based on everything he said, I have to believe him, because the Chargers have not shown the willingness to re-sign him to a long-term deal. And Eckler, yes, he's going to be a model teammate, and he's going to honor his contract. Those were his words. But after this year, I think his time in Los Angeles is done. So we'll see what the Chargers backfield.
They're going to have to do something.
They're going to have to do something, yes.
Yeah, they're going to have to do something. Now, speaking about the relationship situation, Cleveland, you know how I spoke about Diggs in Buffalo and how he changed Josh Allen's game around. But there appears to be a little bit bigger chink in the armor there, where Diggs apparently wants to be part of the play calling now. Like, I know receivers wants the ball thrown to them, and it's about not when they get not how many catches they get, is when they get the catches. But now, if you're trying to be part of the play calling, like, that's taking it to another level right now. What do you think? How does that impact the relationship with the Buffalo Bills going forward? I really don't mind that situation at all, being a Dolphin fan. But how does this? Is this a chink in the armor? Does this create a divide on their offensive side of the ball, and open the door for that team down south to kind of take over the AFC East?
Well, two things, Cam. This is a direct result of the JBs and Jamar Chase coming up there to Buffalo in the snow and smacking them around in the face, and then realizing that their window of opportunity has pretty much closed. So the frustration, there's a little bit of desperation on his part with regards to how to get him more effectively involved in the offense. But from that perspective, if you're going to be a diva number one, I kind of need you to be a little bit more of an impactful diva number one. You might want to hear, you might be able. It's really actually no receiver that you're really actually going to tolerate that from, because number one, they don't throw the ball to themselves. So their level of activity in the offense is directly related to what the quarterback can do. But if you're going to take that stance, I kind of like you to be more of a Randy Moss, Jerry Rice,
you go take a shot at Diggs again.
Julio Jones,
even to a certain extent,
to kind of demand that you're involved in the offensive play calling aspect of the game.
I've never heard the receiver saying, I want to be involved with the play calling. Tyler,
what you hear is you want more touches, you want more opportunities to make plays, which is understandable. But when you get into the actual X's and O's, and when you say break and come out of the huddle, like, you want to be involved in that, no, that's kind of strange. I don't think you know enough about the entire offense to really make those type of decisions. I think from what we've heard, Marshall Faulk is probably like one of the few players that really understood the offense well enough to know what everyone was doing and what they should be doing at any given time. Receiver is just concerned with what they're doing almost all of the time. So to be able to have the ability to
say he doesn't know what's
kind of crazy.
I'm not going to say he doesn't know what's going on the field. He should know what's going on with everybody going on the field and how best
I didn't say he didn't know what was going on the field. I said know what's going on the field to an extent
he
that
should be able to. He should,
as
an NFL wide receiver, he should know what's going on, what his team is doing, the concept of their scheme well enough to have his input. I want the ball here. I should get the ball there. He should know that. So I'm gonna go ahead and give him that benefit of the doubt. But say he wants play calling. That's news to me, Tyler. How often does that actually go on? That more catches is obvious. They want to touch the ball obviously every time. Every wide receiver says they're open every play. But to say I want more want to be a part of the play calling, how often does that go on, Mr. Tyler, from your understanding?
I mean, that's just another way of saying I want the ball more. Let's just be blunt. That's really what he's saying. He's not saying I want to be involved in the offense more so we can run it more or run more seams. I mean, throw more seams to the tight end. No, it's just another unique way to say I want more touches and I want the offense, a lot of plays to be catered better to my skill set. And I don't feel as though that they are at this moment in time. That's pretty much what he's saying. Now, yes, we're going to make a big deal out of what, the reports are out there, but this is not a new situation. This is not unique to Stephon Diggs. Receivers do this all the time in various different forms, and this is just what Stephon Diggs is doing.
Well, I like it. I like the frustration, the chink in the armor. I like go ahead and they might as well have an all-out brawl before the season starts. So let us know that there's an opening. There's an opening for those Dolphins to take over that division.
Your Dolphins fandom is coming out. Is that a Dolphins hat in the back too?
There's a few of them. There's a few of them up there. There's a few of them up there. So let's talk about another wide receiver. Somebody you wrote about here recently, Deebo Samuel, saying he had an awful season last year. What does that awful season spell for the NFC? NFC West, I should say, this season? And do you think that first, before you answer that, who's actually going to be throwing to him this year? And does it matter who's throwing to him?
Man, so a part of me really, really thinks that Trey Lance has a huge ceiling and can be the quarterback that the 49ers desperately need with his ability to run the ball, his ability to throw, his athletic ability, but he just doesn't have the experience and the command of the game at this point. Now he can get there, but he's still a long ways away. And when you look at Brock Purdy, he wasn't a high draft pick, we all know, as Mr. Irrelevant, but he has that experience, playing college football. And when he's under center in the 49ers offense, the offense just flows better. He knows he's like a point guard out there. He doesn't make huge mistakes, delivers the ball with accuracy, with precision, and he's just the game manager that the 49ers need. He's literally an upgrade from Jimmy Garoppolo, because Jimmy Garoppolo, he was a game manager, but then he would manage to make mistakes too. Brock Purdy was not doing that for the 49ers, and that's why their offense took into a whole new level until we got hurt. You can make the case that the 49ers could have won that game if he was not hurt in that NFC championship. So I say all that to say Brock Purdy, he has earned the right to be the starter going into this season. Hopefully he gets his health back from, that injury. But if Trey Lance continues to develop, the 49ers spent a whole lot of draft capital to trade up to get Trey Lance. So in the back of their mind, they're going to give him every opportunity to show that he's better than Brock Purdy. Because at the end of the day, the 49ers don't want to be like, okay, I wasted multiple picks, first rounders to get this guy, and he's not panning out. So that was just a waste. And now we're going to trade him off.
They didn't know what Brock Purdy was going to do. They didn't know Brock Purdy was going to go 9-1 before he got his elbow snapped.
But I'll ask both of you this. Does Brock Purdy have the skills to be an upper echelon Pro Bowl quarterback, top 5 quarterback in the NFL? Does he have the skill set?
He took the team to the NFC Championship. Yeah. He took the team to what more do you need to see? He went 9-1.
Jimmy Garoppolo took the 49ers to the Super Bowl.
No. Oh,
what do you
mean? Okay. You broke it down. You broke it down very eloquently. Jimmy Garoppolo was a game manager who also managed to make mistakes. Brock Purdy played flawless football. He wasn't Dan Marino. He wasn't Dan Marino. I'm not going to confuse. Nobody confuse him with Dan Marino or John Elway. But he played winning football. He made winning plays. He had the experience, the moxie, the person. In my eyes, that's what I saw. I wasn't at practice. I didn't go talk to him after the game. I didn't hear what the coach had to say. I saw him playing winning football, and I tried to tell this.
My question now.
I would go. Can he be a Pro Bowl starting quarterback? Is that what you're asking me? Can he be a Pro Bowl?
Can he be a Pro Bowl top 5 level quarterback?
You don't need it. You don't need a top 5 level quarterback. You don't need that. You don't need that to win games. He proved that. He wasn't that last year. And
the 49ers system proved that, or he proved that?
Whatever you want to put, however you want to put it, however you want to spell it out. He played.
You still didn't answer my question. Is Brock Purdy a top 5 quarterback? Does he have the skill set? Okay.
He's not a top 5 quarterback. Okay. Does he play winning football? Does he win? Can he lead his team to a top 5 record in the NFL? Absolutely. Cleveland, try to diffuse my argument. I've been telling Cleveland for the 9. We were 6-1, 7-1, 8-1. Cleveland, do you believe in this dude? Well, no, he was 8-0 till he lost his game, if I remember correctly. Cleveland, do you believe in this dude?
Top 5 quarterback.
To answer your question, Taylor, absolutely 100% not. He is Trent Dilfer 2.0. He plays behind a team with an incredible defense and a really strong running game. And if they're ever behind, you do not want to depend on that guy to throw 10 or 15-yard snap passes.
Shame on you.
And the Baltimore Ravens were smart enough after the Super Bowl to realize that they needed an upgrade at that position, and that Trent Dilfer was not going to.
Tony Banks. He went to Tony Banks after that.
The Brock Purdy thing is not sustainable. They have a better quarterback on their roster. Yeah, Brock Purdy runs the offense kind of cool, and it matches together. But it was a very small sample size. And I think that if he's thrown out there for a full season, you will see the flaws and the limits to his game, and it will not be the same thing. It will be like once they're down by like 10 points in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes left to go, Brock Purdy's not bringing you back.
He called the guy.
Thank you.
Dilfer. You ought to be ashamed.
Now the Trent Dilfer thing was a little harsh. Trent Dilfer comparison. However, the 49ers system is so unique and so good. Shout out to Kyle Shanahan, because they are not reliant on the quarterback position. But how many Super Bowls have the 49ers won in the last 10 years? They've been to Super Bowls, but how many have they won? 0. To get them over the hump, they need a quarterback that is more than a game manager. Trey Lance has the skill set and the potential to be more of a game manager, but
Tony Banks look good too.
He's far away from his potential.
Tony Banks looked good in sweats in a jersey out there in preseason too. That's why he had the job before Trent Dilfer took over. Come on now, the guy won games. You can't argue with results. He went 2 months losing 1 game in the NFL.
Is he does he play offense and defense? Last I checked, Nick Bosa was Defense Player of the Year. You got the best linebacker in the NFL, Fred Warner. You have a defensive play caller, a defensive coach who's now in the who is now the head coach of the Houston Texans. Christian McCaffrey, top 5 running back. George Kittle, top 5 tight end. Like Deebo Samuel.
I believe in you, Brock. I believe in you, Brock. I got you, Brock. Brock should be starting, but Brock's injured, and so this is Trey Lance's time. He does have time from now to this. I'm not sure when he's supposed to be back. Right around the start.
Don't forget about Sam Darnold.
Huh?
They did get Sam Darnold.
I mean, come on.
Trey Lance might not be able to beat out Sam Darnold. Seriously, that is a competition right now.
So
stop talking
to me. Stop talking to me about what they spent to get this quarterback and then the opportunities they're going to give him. If Trey Lance can't beat up Sam Darnold, like
yes,
I mean they just need to chalk that up as a loss and go ahead and ride the train with Brock. Huh?
Trey Lance, the reason why he was drafted so high and reason why he was a coveted quarterback is because his potential. He has the arm. The running ability to be a really good quarterback in NFL, but can he reach that potential? And one of the things that's holding him back is his experience. And the speed of the game is totally different than at North Dakota, especially at North Dakota State. It's way different.
Absolutely. But until he's ready, I mean, the position he has an opportunity until Brock's healthy. If Brock proves that he's not healthy enough to actually come out and play quarterback, that's a different story. He got the ugly injury. The injury, it didn't look ugly, but you messing with the elbow tendons. Obviously, that's a touchy situation. Let's talk about another AFC East team that has some more problems. some more problems out here. Again, thank you, Tyler, for uncovering this issue with Mekhi Becton, saying that does Saleh know what's going on up there? Does he know what to do on the offensive side of the ball? He put the guy he made him play right tackle. He's actually a left tackle. He said, hey, it's not working over here. There's something going on with my knee. And they told us, shut up, dude. Just get out there and play the position. And then now he's not happy. He's not happy. He doesn't feel he's treated right. He's injured. I'm not sure that the coaching staff with the biplanes really know what to do with that talent that they have over there. And I'm hoping I'm hoping that they just collapse on themselves too. Tyler, what do you know about this? Expand on this situation for us up in New York. Does the coaching staff, are they in over their head now that they brought in this quarterback, this aging quarterback? Are they in over their heads? Do they really know what's going on? Help us out over here. Just another AFC East team on a caught fire and on the downfall.
See, I'm starting to notice with you, it's hard to have an objective conversation about AFC East teams with you because of your Miami Dolphins fandom, as you have multiple Miami Dolphins hats in the background. So I'm starting to realize the trend here. Now, I will say this. Yes, the Jets have questions at both tackle spots. Now, Beckham, he wants to play left tackle. He low-key blames his injury on the fact that he was playing right tackle. Now, I think that's somewhat of an excuse. As a tackle, you're supposed to be able to know how to play both. Yes, you can be better at one side than the other, and you can be more accustomed to one side than the other, but you're taught how to play both right tackle and left tackle as a tackle. And some coaches want you to play all across the offensive line. Sure. I've seen NFL coaches have tackles in practice play guard, sometimes play center, just in case of an emergency situation. So Mekhi Becton, he gets paid to play tackle, so he should play wherever is best suited, what the coaches believe is best suited for him. That's my thoughts. But the Jets have a lot of I won't say problems, but a lot of unanswered questions. How's Aaron Rodgers going to fit it to the full? Yes, everybody thinks he's going to, come out like gangbusters, but Aaron Rodgers didn't play all that well last year. Now he's in a new offensive system, yes, with his buddy, but he's knocking on 40. Then you're
Tell
playing
the
with
truth.
a whole new
I brought
cast.
you on the show to tell the truth, man. I brought you on the show to tell the truth.
Tell the truth. Hey, don't let me get into your Dolphins. I could get into the Dolphins too now.
No, well, I mean, we're talking about the New York biplanes right now. The Dolphins have their own set of issues. Can their quarterback stay healthy?
I will say this. This is the first year in a long time the Jets are going to play with a lot of expectations. Aaron Rodgers brought that to the Big Apple. They do have talent, enough talent to be a playoff contender and an loaded AFC conference. Beckham is an issue, but they have a lot of unanswered questions that they have to address. And they've started to in OTAs, but definitely will have to come training camp.
Cleveland, you got anything to say about your team? Cleveland's all of a sudden a Jets fan. He's been on
okay.
solid.
So first and foremost, I'm tired of you saying this, Cameron. It's not my team, but like I have said,
now you don't want to accept them.
Like I have said on numerous occasions, I do have a high level of respect and regard for Saleh. And as we've been talking, again, I do have to make another analogy.
Oh, here we go.
He is another 2.0. He's Buddy Ryan 2.0, man.
Oh, here we go.
He really just wants to control his defense, to control the game, and leave it to those guys on the offense to give me 19 to 23 points a game. And last year they couldn't do that. So they go and get the Messiah from Green Bay. You're responsible for getting us 19 to 23 points a game. And if you can do that, we're in the playoffs. And if we're in the playoffs in January with my defense, we can do some things. I don't really meddle in that side of the ball too much. And I've never told you that I did. And I'm never going to tell you that I'm going to do that. I just want you to put the 19 to 23 and we'll be okay. That's what Saleh is. He's all about his defense and give me something on offense. And I can respect that. And he addresses the team even like that. Even when they were going through the quarterback, the Wilson stuff, and you see what happened when he said he took no responsibility for a 6-3 loss. Yeah, you can just leave the building and don't come back until we call you. That's a defensive coach. If it was an offensive coach, it'd be like, hey, let's sit down, let's work on. No. You just leave the building and we'll call you when we're ready for you to come back. Because you just can't be disrupting my defense like that.
And you just expect all of a sudden for this team now to score 19 to 23 points a game. Just because.
Yeah, that's why you brought Aaron Rodgers in to score 19 to 23. I didn't say top 5 offense. I didn't say off the charts. I said 19 to 23 points. That's not unreasonable.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So they have a new offensive coordinator in New York, just like a team in Southern California has a new offensive coordinator. With Kellen Moore taking over the offensive coaching duties for the Chargers, how effective do you think this is going to be? The marriage, what's that marriage look like between not Staley, but Kellen Moore and Herbert?
Well, so far so good based on what I've heard out of Chargers camp. You would hope that the offense pushes the ball downfield a little bit more. Last year, that kind of was the story of the Chargers offense. They were just dinking and dunking down the field, giving short passes to Austin Eckler. When you have a quarterback with a huge arm, with athletic ability, be able to run bootlegs and so on, get outside the pocket and throw downfield. So you would think Kellen Moore recognizes that he has one of the more athletic and mobile quarterbacks in Justin Herbert with a huge cannon of an arm where he can use that to the Chargers' advantage and kind of diversify the Chargers' offense. The Chargers' offense was way too stagnant last year and was way too reliant on the short pass game. And it really didn't cater to Justin Herbert's skill set. So based on what I've heard, based on what I've seen, mind you, just OTAs, just mini camp, anybody could look good in shorts and a t-shirt, but it looks a little bit better, a lot more explosive plays downfield. I saw them, throwing downfield passes to Mike Williams with the rookie Quentin Johnson. So I like what I'm seeing so far, but the jury's still out.
Some of that was personnel, though. I'm not going to give Lombardi all the blame on how the dinking and dunking, because once Keenan goes down, then Mike Williams was in and out of the offense. Some of that was personnel.
This is true.
Palmer got hurt a couple games. It just so happens that Keenan was out and Williams went down, so they were struggling at that receiver spot. So I can't totally blame all of that lack of big plays on Lombardi and the play calling. I'm interested to see how it changed, because if that changes, so they'll throw the ball more. Back to what we were talking about earlier, they may throw the ball more, but how effective is that? Their single problem was they couldn't run the ball none of the season last year in any of the games, and so that let defenses just kind of sag back and wait for the underneath route. They knew Herbert wasn't going to be going deep because Keenan wasn't going deep. Williams, when he got hurt, he wasn't going to go deep. So that kind of stifled their offense, if you will. So I'm eager to see kind of in Dallas hasn't been, and maybe that was some Ezekiel Elliott's lack of a running ability, because when they gave the ball to Pollard, he made big plays, but that was because he was an explosive player. I don't think Eckler is that type of explosive running back that Pollard was. So Pollard was able to get a lot of big carries. He got some big gainers just because of his sheer explosiveness. Not because Moore was calling running plays and he was dedicated to the running game, which the Chargers need that running game. So I kind of think, I don't want to say it too early, but they might be facing a similar situation that they faced last year. Just with a better receiving core, always throwing the ball and not being able to dominate the game or control the game with an effective running game. Am I wrong by saying that?
I hate to break it to you, but you're wrong, because the Cowboys under Kellen Moore have had good running attacks. Now, last year it was kind of run by committee with Pollard and Zeke, but under Kellen Moore, the Cowboys historically have good rushing attacks. Now, with the Chargers, I do have to tell you, it's kind of a personnel issue, because this is, on the Chargers' perspective, another reason why you don't give, Eckler that big time contract. How many seasons has Eckler been a 1,000-yard rusher, which is generally the benchmark with really good running backs? How many seasons? 0. He is, but he's not that type of running back.
Exactly.
So
that's not his fault.
It's not his fault, but that's kind of what you need when you're up, 21-0, 27-0 against Jacksonville. You need to be able to run in between the tackles. Yeah. The Chargers don't have that. And when you don't have that, you're susceptible to blowing leads, because all you're doing is passing the football and you're not milking the clock. So is Spiller going to be that? Do you have a running back that's going to be that on the roster? And so maybe they need to address that issue. You would think they would have going to address that in the draft a few months ago, but they didn't. So now they're stuck with saying, okay, Eckler, can you do it? Spiller, can you do it? Kelly, can you do it? If they're not, they're going to be in a similar situation. But you would hope that the running backs on the roster that they have get a little bit better. With Spiller, another year under his belt, get a little bit better. But if they don't, trust and believe that they'll probably look in the running back market next year.
They should be signing up. They should be signing Cook right now. They should be really looking at Cook just to get that consistency from a back they know who's been in the game. They went and got Michael, or Sony Michelle.
You can't sign Cook and not pay Eckler. That you cannot. You have to let go Eckler if you sign Cook. You cannot do that.
Yeah, I mean, ideally. Ideally, you're right about that. That makes good sense. Ideally, though, Eckler is your change of pace running back. Ideally, that's what he would be, and somebody else get that bulk of the carries, like they had Melvin Gordon. He was a compliment to Melvin Gordon that's when they drafted him. But they didn't. They chose not to pay Gordon. Go back to 3 years ago, they didn't want to pay him the $14 million he was asking for. So then they kind of were stuck with Eckler, but he was producing enough that they said, okay, let's run with this guy. But Kelly,
ideally, you hope Spiller takes, the next
takes
step
over the reins. Yeah,
that's running back. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see if he's ready for that. What do you expect from Deshaun Watson in the full offseason going into, I don't want to say a second year, but just having a full offseason ahead of him? Do you expect his game to change, or have we seen the best of Watson? What's your thoughts on that?
That's a really good question, because it was obvious and predictable that Deshaun Watson was not going to be himself or not look like the quarterback of old last season in that short sample size. After that extended layoff, we all know the reasons why he was not playing. This year, though, I do think learning, Stefanski's system, being able, to be in Cleveland for a while, getting more comfortable in his, new role in that offense. I do think Deshaun Watson is going to be a lot better. I don't know if he's ever going to reach the Deshaun Watson of old when we saw him, during his glory days with the Houston Texans, but he's still a young quarterback. He can still get close to that level. Maybe he can exceed that level, but it was going to always take some time for him to knock that rust off, and probably about a year. And now this is a season for the Cleveland offense, Deshaun Watson, to take that next step. And they have the pieces to be very successful. You got Nick Chubb in the backfield. You got a solid defense headlined by Myles Garrett. I really like what the Browns have going if Deshaun Watson can stay healthy and continue to improve. Yes, you got Amari Cooper too. So it's going to be really interesting to see. However, that division's loaded. The AFC North with the Bengals, the Ravens, the Steelers should be better. So Browns got their hands full.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough division, but I think we should see the best of him. Maybe not the best of him, but what we're going to see. I expect the best we've seen as of late from Deshaun Watson with this offseason under his belt. What's your confidence in Derek Carr leading the Saints to a playoffs? Their division is kind of opposite of what the NFC North is. What do you think? You think he can? He's really the only experienced quarterback in that division. You think he can lead them to the playoffs this season?
You say the only experience. He could be the best quarterback in the division if you look at it. I mean, would you take him in a must-win game, or what, Bryce Young? I think it's a toss-up between Derek Carr and Bryce Young, the best quarterback in NFC South. Now, he's an upgrade over Jameis Winston. He's more efficient throwing the football. He's more accurate throwing the football. So I do think their offense gets better. But I want to see how Alvin Kamara, because last year wasn't really a really good year for Alvin Kamara. I want to see how he bounces back after kind of a low-key season. And that defense. The Saints have had a really good defense in recent years. Can that defense continue to play at a high level to support Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, and that offense?
What's your thoughts on the Saints and Carr, Cleveland?
I'm not that high on them. I'm not really that sold on them. When I look at the division, I definitely see this up for grabs. This is, of course, before Dalvin Cook determines where he's going to ultimately end up. If he ends up with the Bucks, that might be a different story. But for right now, I am just leaning the way of the upstart Falcons. Just talent. I think they have more talent at the skill positions. Their defense played, fairly decently. And with Marcus Mariota in there, they were, as a gambler, I know that they were in every game pretty much on the spread. I mean, I think they were like 11-6 or something like that against the spread. So
pretty sure Ritter's going to be starting in Atlanta.
That's okay. And then you go and get Bijan. As we've been talking about, the running back position being devalued. Here's a young, fresh 400 carry dude in a run-happy offense with a budding superstar at tight end, a couple at receivers. So I think that the division is theirs for the taking. I didn't like the way, like you were saying, Kamara's play last year. Michael Thomas has never, ever come back from his 130 catch season or whatever. So what are they going to do at the receiver position? I don't see them really making any moves, but the division is fairly dormant, and I think if you're just going to pick a team, I would pick the Falcons.
I love that answer, because if you look at their roster, and if they can get just average play from the quarterback position and Desmond Ridder, you're
not looking for a top 5 quarterback anymore.
First of all, I'll address you after I finish this point. If they can get just average quarterback play from Desmond Ridder, I love their skill position, as Cleavon just said. And then you look at their defense. The Falcons, they were one of the most aggressive teams in free agency, getting Jesse Bates. You look at, they got Jeff Okudah from the Detroit Lions. That secondary, you already have AJ Terrell. They have one of the best secondaries on paper in the NFL. And then, not to mention, they got Bud Dupree, a pass rusher, Calais Campbell. So you really loaded on that defense. Now, can that offense and that quarterback tread water, play average, and you'll be able to win some games? Now, to answer your question, they can win games with average play because of their running ability, their ability to be able to run the football. They got Bijan Robinson, as we already addressed, and in the draft, the best running back in this year's draft. And so they're not going to ask their quarterback to do a whole lot. Run the football, be a game manager, and don't turn the ball over. And if they do that, they can win 8, 9 to 10 games in that division. Now, I don't expect them to do anything in the playoffs, but they can win the division with winning 8, 9 to 10 games for sure.
That makes sense. And Arthur Smith is a running. He's known for running the ball. He's had Derrick Henry for the last 5 years. So Robinson's going to get a lot of carries this season. Here's a couple young quarterbacks. Who do you think has a better season, Justin Fields or Jordan Love? Either one of you guys.
Justin Fields. He's on the brink of explosion. I mean, if they gave him any kind of receiving help whatsoever and kind of called plays that kind of cater to throws that he makes well, I mean, he's already shown that there's no stopping him in the open field, and you just don't want that problem. So you'd rather have him in the pocket. So if you're going to contain him and keep him in the pocket, at least give him some weapons. But he has the most upside without question.
He got DJ Moore. They picked up DJ Moore, and last season they signed
Chase Claypool. That was not a good sign so far. Now let's see what he can do in the second season. But last year was a little bit of a disappointment when they went and got him. But like everyone is saying, had a full off season now. Get implemented into the offense. Hopefully, he's a little bit more of a contribution than he was last year. But yeah, Justin Fields is right on the brink.
You agree with that, Tyler?
I would happen to agree based on Fields has more talent around him. You look at Jordan Love, a young receiving corps, unestablished offensive line. You have 2 solid running backs back there, but everything else around you is average or below average. You look at the Bears, they were very active in the offseason. They bolstered their defense. They bolstered their offense. DJ Moore coming in. You got a true number 1 wide receiver, and we know what Justin Fields and Chicago's running attack can do. So I think they have the recipe for success.
All right, just a couple more before I get you out of here, Mr. Tyler. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us, by the way. Go ahead and let the people know where they can find you, sir.
You can find me on Twitter at the Tyler Dragon, just like how it sounds. You can get my latest work, latest commentary on all things NFL and a little bit of NBA and track and field too, because it's track and field season.
Yeah, you've been busy this summer, actually, huh? Yeah. Have you had a break?
Yeah. I have small breaks here and there, but I need a real long break. Maybe after this podcast, I can convince my bosses to give me about a week or 2 off where I can just have a huge long break and go out of the country for a few days or something.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna make your job easier here in a moment, but I really want to thank you for making time for us. We appreciate it. The fans appreciate this knowledge that you're dropping. Now you touched on Bryce Young a little earlier. Who do you think? Which rookie has the best campaign this season? Is it going to be Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud? I don't think Anthony Richardson is going to get either the opportunities that either one of those are going to get because I think they're going to start right away. So really, between C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, who do you think has the better season?
I think Bryce Young does. He's the better, more NFL-ready quarterback. It's funny because these two quarterbacks have been competing since high school. They're both from the Southern California area. But that's not a knock on C.J. Stroud. I do think he's going to be a big-time quarterback in the NFL too, but I got Bryce Young.
All right, so I'm going to give you – I want to know what are your top stories going into the season. But right now, if you get a pen and a notepad, I'm going to give you my top stories going into this NFL season, and then you can jot this down. First and foremost, as you know, avid Dolphin fan here, how many games does Tua actually play this season? Like that's the number one story of the year because that makes a difference in the seeding in the AFC, in the AFC East. How many games does he get in this season? Because you saw when he actually gets in, Cleveland made me rattle off a bunch of stats that he the 3 weeks he was tearing it up last year, he was on a certain pace. And until he got, a couple injuries that we're not going to discuss, but how many games does he play this season? That's one of my biggest stories. Aaron Rodgers signing with the biplanes. How does this story end? I'm not sure that this story is going to be as glorious as everybody is wanting to write it out to be, or how they've written it so far. I'm not sure that they finished in the top two of the AFC East. I'm not positive, and that's no bias. That's realistic because the Bills won the division last year, as we know. But I think the Bills, we talked about the chinks in their armor. They're probably taking a step back now because the bickering going on with the quarterback and the receiver. That's going to hurt them guys. And then you got the Dolphins. If Tua's able to play, he's proven that he can compete. They were competing with their third-string quarterback with the Bills, who won the division last season in the playoff. They were competing with their third-string quarterback. So if they get a legitimate quarterback in there to actually play healthy, they're going to be a team to reckon with. Something else I'm looking at is how do the Chargers actually rebound from that horrible playoff loss? Does that stick with them? Can they get over that? Can they develop that running game? Can the relationship between Kellen Moore and Herbert work out? How does Staley fit in there when in his third year? Can he lead these guys back to a playoffs? And just how do they get over that hurdle? That was a terrible hurdle for them guys. Again, I hope you're writing this down. These are good stories that the fans are going to know about, Mr. Tyler. Secondly, can the Eagles avoid the Super Bowl hangover? You can answer these questions as if you choose to, but I don't want to hold you all night. I know you probably got dinner waiting on you or what have you. Can the Eagles avoid that Super Bowl hangover? We've seen that's been a huge issue for teams that end up losing the Super Bowl outside of the Chiefs, who came back, who lost the Super Bowl. They didn't go to the Super Bowl the next season, but then they came back and won it after that. So can the Eagles avoid that? The Eagles had a hell of a draft. So they put themselves in a position to be right back there again. But that Super Bowl hangover is a tough thing to kind of overcome. And then obviously, can the Chiefs repeat? I mean, they sound like they want to repeat. I mean, nobody can doubt Patrick Mahomes and what he has going on, but can they actually repeat? I think that's going to be a huge story to kind of follow around this season. Do you agree with any of those? What's your thoughts on them? You want to add to this list?
So the NFL, there's never a shortage for storylines. I do like your list. However, I will have to add, the Kansas City Chiefs, they're the reigning Super Bowl champions. And I think they're going to use that as motivation, how they're just flying under the radar. So the Chiefs repeat bid, that has to be a storyline. DeAndre Hopkins, he's still a free agent. This is one of the best receivers in all of football. Where is he going to go? That's an immediate storyline. Could he go to the Chiefs? Could he go to the Bills? Who knows where he's going to go? Dalvin Cook, we mentioned his name a few times in this podcast. Where is he going to end up? The
He wants to go back
quarterback.
home. No, honestly, I think Dalvin Cook wants to go back home. I think
That's where you want him to go, resident Dolphins fan. The quarterback, market. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, they're eligible for huge paydays. We've already seen Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts get paydays. So, I'm interested to see what they're going to cash in at. These rookie quarterbacks, how are they going to perform this coming season? Especially the top two quarterbacks that were drafted. So you hit on a lot of storylines, but I think those are the ones I'm most interested in to add on to yours.
Okay. And once again, where can the people find your stories so they can read on this, Mr. Tyler?
USAtoday.com. You go on sports, NFL, you can see my work all over the page, or I usually tweet out most of the stories that I publish on my Twitter account. You can follow me on Twitter at the Tyler Dragon.
I got one more for you, but Cleveland, you got anything for him? What do you think of my list? What do you think about his list?
I like both of your lists. The one thing that I would add to that is that the NFL has a way of recalibrating itself. And there's always some surprise team that you never thought was going to do anything that kind of comes out of nowhere. I am very interested to see who that surprise team is going to be this season. Having followed Russ so long in the 206, I am very curious to see if there is a resurrection to his career or if it's just the curtain's been pulled back and suddenly he's the emperor with no clothes walking around. Is he really that guy, or was it all just an apparition all this time? And if he is, just look at how quarterback heavy the AFC really is. There's like 7 to 10 like potential, Pro Bowl quarterbacks that all playing at the same time. So those are the two storylines that I'm kind of, lightweight, kind of interested in seeing how they unfold.
Well, yeah, let's get what's your thoughts on Russell and the new coach in there? How am I having a brain fart? A little
Sean Payton.
Sean Payton, yeah. Sean Payton's a little tiny dude, man. But what's your thoughts on that reunion? Sean Payton and Russell. Do you think Russell can rebound, or it was that wasn't the best of Russell, obviously?
If Russell Wilson can resurrect his career, Sean Payton is definitely a coach that has the credentials to do it and the ability. He's one of the best coaches in modern football right now. And you look at the way Russell Wilson performed last year, it looked like he was in over his head. It looked like he was lost in the offense. It just looked like the game was going way too fast for him and just looked out of sorts. And on most Sundays, which is uncharacteristic for Russell Wilson. So hopefully for Denver Broncos' sake, Sean Payton can rectify that. I think that wasn't the last of Russell Wilson. Like, I do think that he'll be better this year. I don't think I think he's past his prime, is what I'm trying to say. But I do think Russell Wilson has still good football years left in him.
Some good years left. Okay. And you touched on it with Lamar getting his payday. What do you think? I'm concerned in a sense. I'm glad he got paid. Obviously, he deserved to be paid. But I'm a little concerned that the past couple seasons, Lamar hasn't finished the year. He's been injured. He missed the last 6 games of the last 2 seasons. What do you think about his comeback? Is he able to bounce back? Do you expect to bounce back from him? And do you expect Odell Beckham to kind of not guide him through that, but to be a big catalyst in him resurrecting himself, resurrecting his career? I mean, they got Zay Flowers, so if he can throw the ball, if he can stay healthy, I mean, he has some talent out there. Obviously, the tight end, now Odell being number 2, Zay Flowers, Zay Flowers look good at Boston College. If he can come in with that same type game in the NFL, I know it's a different game, but I mean, now Lamar got some legitimate tools on the outside that he hasn't had before. What do you think about Baltimore's ability to bounce back?
The Ravens have to be optimistic with the offseason that they've had to improve their team. And going into this season, I have the Ravens and the Bengals as neck and neck as the favorites to win the AFC North. And I would not be surprised if the Ravens won the AFC North. You got Lamar Jackson. He's motivated, revitalized. You just mentioned Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham Jr. You got a good defense, a solid defense, a stout offensive line, a solid running game. Hopefully J.K. Dobbins can stay healthy. I like what the Ravens are doing. I would not be surprised if they upset the Bengals and won the AFC North.
Ooh, upset the Bengals. Oof. I think the Bengals got a chip on their shoulder.
I think they're neck and neck. I do think they're neck and neck.
Okay. Well, again, Mr. Tyler, I want to thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you for jumping on with us, man. Give the wife, say hello to the wife. Hope you enjoyed your weekend. Get that vacation in, man. I'll send you a clip and you send this to the boss. You've been working overtime. Go get that vacation in, big guy, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks for having me on. Y'all have a great night.
You too, sir. Thanks as always. That was cool, man. I'm sorry about the start, fellas. Sorry about the start, fans. So let me see if I can work on my audio over here. And let's do this, Mr. Cleveland. Let's do this. Let's take a little break, Cleveland, before we get into the NBA. Let's take a little break, sir.
Who am I speaking to right now?
Cameron.
My name is Cameron.
Cam Buford.
You got some good questions today.
I'm a Dolphin fan.
There's always room for improvement. This is a big year for Tua to prove that he's a franchise quarterback.
I'm more a fan of boxing. Boxing is my main sport.
I'm not worried about him right now. I'm worried about Crawford. I'm trying to get that fight made.
As a competitor, how much does that competitive spirit get in there and say, I want to fight this guy. I want to get some of this guy.
Of course I want to fight all the guys. Of course that. But at the same time, like I keep telling you, it's a business.
Once you finish him off, do you feel you get the credit and the respect you deserve there?
It really don't matter. I'm just on a mission to become the best, welterweight in the division. After I get him, I want to fight the next best guy, the next best guy, the next best guy. And then once I clear the division, I'm going to move up.
Think about it like this. The promoter pays the fighter. The fighter pays the manager.
Okay.
So the manager works for the fighter, and the fighter works
for the promoter. Okay.
If you can see, you can believe.
So you are lifting weights currently?
No, it's not like that.
When he said it's easier to score in the NBA versus Europe, did you agree with them?
To me, it's easy to score all over the world.
Aaron, what has the game of baseball taught you?
One of the biggest things is being humble.
Can you give a message to the kids to kind of persevere through the false teachings they may be giving?
Patience.
Okay.
Patience.
As the show voice of the fan,
Oh my goodness!
continues
gracious. I'm
to
in
evolve.
tears.
Come on, you were adding some spice to it.
It is strictly banter back and forth between myself and Cameron Buford.
I enjoy all of it.
The real ones know what's going on, right?
Like you said, Pacific Northwest. So, I think it's a big part of my game. And every time I step on the floor, I just want to represent myself.
You play this game and you don't turn to win a championship, then why are you playing for?
I'm happy for the Mariners. I'm happy for the whole
Ken, nobody.
Go watch the tape. Go watch the tape, and then you tell me if it was all about just a system.
You look like a buffoon.
Go do your research. Go do your study.
Oh, this guy.
That's what's good in sports, man. It's the big Snoop Dogg, man.
That's what's good in sports. Hey, man, thanks for making our voice your choice. You know how we do.
Is this any different? No good? Still.
Cleveland, can you hear me?
Got you now.
Man, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what I apologize. I'm running late, man. Running late. Oh boy. Well, thank you
Mr. Tyler Dragon, for being a part of the show. Go hit him up at the Tyler Dragon on Twitter. A lot of good content that we just went over, Cleavon. Anything you didn't ask him that you wanted to ask him that I can clear up for you, sir?
Now that you can clear up, thanks so much for volunteering right there, though. Yeah, I kind of, yeah.
I mean,
no.
He told you about them biplanes. He told you about them biplanes, right? Everything's not as glorious as it might be.
Okay, well, and again, I gave my side of the story and why I like and respect Salah and who he is.
All right, sir. So, in the NBA, sir. NBA news. Got an NBA drafted here in a couple days. But before the draft, we got some big news to talk about. Ja gets to 25 games. Cleavon, you were right. It was over under was 40, right? I didn't take into account that Miles Bridges got suspended 30 games last season for he got suspended 30 games last season for the domestic violence situation. Excuse me. And this wasn't that. This situation that Ja Morant finds himself was not the domestic dispute, domestic violence situation. So it had to be less than that, which makes sense. At 25 games, still 3 times more than the 8-game suspension he got initially. And also, because of the new collective bargaining rules, because he missed so many games or missed the games last year, not only due to suspension, but due to injuries, he missed that 65-game benchmark. Well, it wasn't in place last year, but his injuries and the missed time, he didn't make any of the all-pro teams, which means he didn't make that get the super max that he was eligible for. He would have been eligible for. So that cost him about $40 million. This season, because he's suspended for 25 games, he's going to miss that mark again, that 65. If he were to just play all the games, he's going to miss that. He's not going to play 65 games in the regular season to be eligible for the 6 Supermax this season. Cost him another $40 million. And this is 25 games not paid. So that comes up to nearly $8 million. So now what we're looking at, where we at? $88 million that he missed for flashing and waving some guns around. Now, a lot of people want to say, there's been NBA players posing with guns, taking pictures with guns, shooting guns at the shooting range, in the mountains with their high-power rifles, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think either one of those situations where they were in a nightclub waving a gun around on IG. That's the first thing. I don't think any of those situations where other players were doing it where after they were suspended 8 games, doing it a second time in less than 2 months, just waving guns around, listening to rap music. I don't recall, I could be wrong, I don't recall those situations being very similar after they've already been reprimanded. So that argument goes, right on out the window. And do you think the 25 games he received and the loss of revenue, the bad publicity, do you think all of that is enough deterrent for him to alter his activities?
Hasn't proven to be the case to this point. I mean, you would have thought that after the first time being pulled into the principal's office, that you wouldn't get pulled in again for doing the exact same thing. I mean, just kind of in retrospect, he didn't learn his lesson the first time. All you can do is increase the amount of penalty and punishment that goes along with that. Next time, they're not going to be nearly as forgiving. So
is that a no? You don't think he gets?
No, I don't think he's necessarily learned his lesson. Will he tone it down a little bit? It's hard to say. It's really hard to get a gauge on Ja Morant and what he's capable of doing and what he may or may not do. But I'm not sold on the fact that this is a wake-up call for him and that he's going to be a better model citizen after this. No, I'm not convinced of that.
I should ask Tyler this question while I had him on to just get another voice on the subject and ask him if he thinks the leadership in the locker room help, because clearly you don't
You don't think that makes a difference. You don't listen to me when I try to tell you time and time again that it impacts with these players' mindsets. But I should have asked him that question. I wasn't thinking. It'll be interesting, man, and I wish the best for the young man, and I hope it makes a difference. That's about all I could say. There were some reports that somebody in his camp believes that the NBA is now after him and trying to get him on every turn, twist and turn. And it's like, dude, come on, man. They gave you
So that kind of goes to your original point, your original question, right? So you go on Instagram Live with the gun, and you think that they're doing some secret maneuvering to find this out,
high depth investigation on you.
Yeah, no, you put yourself out there, and they just responded to it because they have sponsors and a league to uphold. So. Yeah, this isn't like I caught you in the back seat with so-and-so down the street. This is like, no, you went on Instagram Live with a gun for the second time. There's no witch hunt out here.
That was pretty kind of embarrassing that they would bring that up. But nonetheless, it was brought up and shamefully brought up, I might add. So we talked last week about, some of the after the NBA Finals, like what Miami Heat needed, some of the potential moves that could be made. Again, I told you CP was out of there. I told you what I would do. That was 2 weeks ago. I told you what I would do with CP. And now, do you believe me? Or you have to understand now what the reasons. Bradley Beal waives his no-trade clause to be traded to the Suns for CP, Larry Shamet, and some second-round picks, apparently. So I got a few questions on that for you. Bradley Beal is due to make like $49, $50, $52, $56 million in the next few years, unless he redeals his contract. Do you think Bradley Beal can be more than a good player on a bad team?
No, I think he can be a more than a good player on a bad team. I think he can be a good player.
He was a good player. He was a good player
to answer your question, I think he can be a good player on a good team as well. And on this team, he doesn't have to be the focal point of the offense. And most nights he'll probably be the third option. So, yeah, I think he can flourish in that role.
Okay. The Suns, their scouts are on the clock because part of their problem last season in the playoffs was not scoring. They had enough scoring. Obviously, you can always have more scoring, but scoring wasn't their problem last year. It was defending, and their depth. They didn't have enough bodies, legitimate bodies on the team to put up against, obviously, the NBA champions in Denver Nuggets. By the way, have you seen a coach celebrate, have a better celebration than what Mike Malone had at their NBA or their parade?
No, he was thoroughly enjoying himself and definitely capturing the moment like few others have.
Few other has, like no one ever has. No coach have I seen in the NBA. Have I seen? Now maybe it's happened, but no coach have I seen enjoy themselves like Mike Malone was enjoying himself, as he should, after they won a championship. But I digress. Again, the Suns scouts, they're on the clock because they only have one draft pick, I believe. They only have the number 52. They're 20. They sent their first rounder to Brooklyn, so they only have this 52, which comes in the second round. They're gonna have to get some undrafted free agents because they're paying these guys. Every Bill's making, as we talked about, close to $50 million this year. Booker and KD are each making over $35 million this year. So they're already, although their new hedge fund founder has a lot of money in his pocket, he's going to be paying the luxury tax right off the bat. So they're not going to be able to sign a whole bunch of players to max deals.
They need and Ayton is making $20 million, over $20 million a year. They're going to need to fill out the roster, and their scouts are on the clock because they're going to have to find some undrafted free agents, somebody in the late rounds to actually pay dividends to their team. Do you think so? Their scouts are on the clock. I mentioned I would not trade Ayton. I told you what I thought Ayton was. Ayton is still a 7'2" guy, 260. Not the best defender, but he's a big body. We saw what the Warriors did when they just try to go young and go small. How that doesn't work in the playoffs. They need the body. And Vogel, who has a history of getting the best out of big men, your guy Anthony Davis, alternate days, and they had Roy Hibbert. Roy Hibbert does what's a 7'3" guy out of where was he? Out of UConn, I
Georgetown.
believe. Georgetown. They got them to a conference finals. Roy Hibbert was there for a couple of years. Him and Paul George were a elite tandem, at least in the Eastern Conference for that time span. So if Frank Vogel can get the best, I'm counting on Frank Vogel to get the best out of DeAndre Ayton. I'm not in a hurry to get rid of DeAndre Ayton, as many people might be. I'm not in a hurry to get rid of him. They need another defender, another rebounder. They need somebody definitely to spell them. They're going to need a backup point guard, and they need a shooter. So I just named three bodies that they actually need that the scouting team is going to have to go and fill out. What's your thoughts on their situation, and how do they get this done? And would you trade Ayton?
They are super thin roster-wise. They'll do the best that they can to fill that out, but there's not a whole lot of options out there. You'd be asking really good players to take pennies on the dollar just to be a part of something that is somewhat of an experiment. So I don't know how many players are actually going to do that. Would I trade DeAndre Ayton? Yes, I would trade him.
Like, what do you expect to get from DeAndre Ayton?
I think you can get probably at least 2 first-round picks for Ayton.
Who's giving up 2 first-rounders, man? I don't think.
I think there's some teams around there that can use the viable 7-footer that you keep talking about. Indiana signed him to an offer sheet last year.
So you calling up the Pacers? Yo, Pacers, you still want to make that deal? He's available. Is that what you're gonna say?
Cleveland has a few 7-footers over there. We don't know what Detroit wants to do with their picks. I mean, I think there are teams that could use him for sure and would be willing to give up a few picks to get him.
Man, unless that relationship with Booker and KD is really scorned, is really down. I don't know that relationship. I have no way of knowing what that relationship like. But unless that relationship is irreparable, I'm not trading DeAndre Ayton. I personally, I'm not making that.
There are 2 number 1 picks that have shown that they don't necessarily have a passion for the game. One being Ben Simmons, the other one being DeAndre Ayton. So
no, you can't put him in that category. He's played. He didn't come up with a fake elbow injury.
He's played. That's not what I said. That's not what I said. I said have shown to not have a passion for the game. So if you have one of those, it's not that big of a deal to let him go.
I'm not putting him in that category, man. You're harsh today. You're harsh today. You called Brock Purdy
Trent Dilfer 2.0.
Come on, that's cold. And now you call DeAndre Ayton. Come on, man. You're low. Today. You had a bad day? Did it rain up there in Seattle?
It did rain today, yeah.
Oh, well, there it goes right there. You guys it's June and you guys still the first day of summer and you guys still can't get no sunlight. I hear you. And it rained on Juneteenth. So yeah, you guys.
I was at the Talib Kweli concert. I had to leave.
So you guys are all in a bad mood. I get it now. It makes sense. But gee whiz. Draymond Green opts out of his $20 million or $27 million. Do you expect him to leave Golden State, or is that? I know that's the best fit for him, but do you expect him to leave Golden State?
No, I didn't expect him to leave.
Yeah, he kind of had to opt out. He's on the last year of his deal. Only chance to get another deal was to kind of stick with him. He's out there touring with your boy LeBron out in France. You don't think they're trying to work something out?
No, LeBron needs scoring. He doesn't need a glue guy. and plus he would be a distraction to anyone else's locker room. I mean, no one else is really used to like dealing with a Draymond type personality all the time. Golden State, its old hand. So that's really one of the major reasons that he should come back. Because going somewhere else and pulling that, they're not going to be fans.
Whew. Michael Jordan agrees to sell the majority stake in the Hornets. How does this impact his legacy? How does let me rephrase that question? Excuse me. How does his ownership impact his legacy, or does it at all?
Doesn't at all. I mean, obviously the only African American to own a franchise. Did he manage it incredibly well? I don't think so. He made a lot of money. He got exposure, got his feet wet. The ownership game, and I think after all is done and said, he's did it and just had enough.
He bought it for what, $300 million, I think, and sold it for $2 billion. I mean, that's a decent profit, I'd say. So the Charlotte Hornets, they have the number 2 pick, obviously, and they have the 27, the 34, the 39th, the 41st pick. So they got 5 picks, 2 in the first round, 3 in the second round. I mean, they have a legitimate chance. Unfortunately, Michael Jordan is making these picks, but they have a legit chance to kind of remake their team here in this draft. I probably wouldn't pick if I were him or if he listened to the show, somebody could tell him I probably wouldn't make all those picks. I'd certainly try to package these picks up and get back into the first round. Because in the NBA, you just need a couple guys, right? You just need a couple guys. But what would you do? Would you trade? I mean, we talked about Zion and his, now Zion is getting extorted by old lady. She's threatening to send his sex tape to his boss and stuff like that. Man, what a story this is. But I asked you last week, would you trade for Zion? Would you send the number 2 to New Orleans for Zion?
No.
And you told me no. And you still would not send the number 2 pick in the NBA draft for Zion Williamson when he's Zion Williamson. He's out of all the first rounders, I think, since the 1960s, he has the highest scoring percentage of all of them.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know where you found that stat or what that stat even means.
He has the highest scoring percentage of all of them. He's at 60%. I think since like the 1960s. That includes Wilt. That includes Kareem.
Are you talking about field goal percentage? Is that
what I say? Scoring field goal percentage. Excuse me. 60%. Okay. Yeah, that's everybody since the 1960s.
So sorry, we did this exercise last week. The over/under for how many games Zion is going to play is what?
We're talking about his field goal percentage right now.
Well, I know you threw that meaningless stat out there as if it makes some type of significant difference in what you would trade Zion Williamson for. And I just went back to the original question: what's the over/under and how many games he's going to play?
Well, if he's under Jordan Brand tutelage, do you think that Jordan could talk to him about?
Jordan's gone. Jordan's not a part of that no more.
He has until July, I think, and he's just not the minority.
No. You already saw what Michael Jordan did to Kwame Brown. You don't need to do that to Zion Williams. Okay.
So Jordan's tutelage is you can't count on Jordan for 2 more months to give him some tutelage.
No.
Woo. Would you make these 5 picks in the NBA draft? Would you make these 5 picks? I mean, obviously, I would be taking Miller. Miller fits better with LaMelo, who Melo found another TV star to kind of have a baby with, surprisingly. But Miller pairs better, bigger 3-point shooter. They were last in 3-point shooting percentage. They was last in 3-point shots taken, so they need somebody to shoot it from deep. Miller can do that. Also he can tall, lanky defender. Scoot is more of a ball handling guard, and they don't need that ball handling guard because they got LaMelo. So Miller makes sense. However, Zion, man, Zion is a game changer if he's healthy.
I would use the picks. They have way too many holes for Zion to be filling, and again, Zion over under for how many games he's going to play next year is what again?
I mean, it's he hasn't played 60 games in his career, so
okay.
So what should Portland do with their number 3 pick? Now, something that was floating around on the internet today. This isn't me making stuff up, but this is something that was floating around on the. I'm gonna ask a few questions actually. Would you trade the number 3 pick for Zion? Would you put Zion with Damian Lillard in Portland? You want him?
So I have heard the experts say you do that every day and twice on Sunday, but I wouldn't do it. I would not. I know that Zion is going to get traded, but I would not do it for a top 5 pick.
You don't want to touch him. You don't want to touch Zion at all.
I don't want to touch him at all.
He's in Portland. What harm could be done in Portland?
He's already started this thing going. There is no end in sight because, as you know, these things gain momentum and more of these people are going to start to come out.
That takes him out of the area. New Orleans, a hotbed, the parties, the food. That takes him out of that. I mean, I don't know if he's a beer drinker. If he was a beer drinker,
Portland has more strip clubs than anywhere else in America other than Las Vegas.
The Portland. Yeah, okay. I don't know if you've been to Portland strip clubs, but I didn't even bother to go. Especially he's leaving the South. I don't even think Zion would bother to go to that strip club in Portland. Either if there's 100 of them. Now, again, if he was a beer drinker, I'd say that's not the place for him. If he drinks beer, we know he likes to play in the snow because he was from South Carolina. So maybe that he might feel a little bit more at home. He might feel a little bit slower time, slower pace.
Okay. Again. Okay, you see what I'm saying? You see how many things go into the whole Zion experiment? All the nuances you have to look into. No, man.
But
I would rather take a top 3 pick than Zion Williamson. That's just me. Other people will be like, you have no idea what that other person is going to turn into, and you've already seen potentially what Zion can be when he's healthy. But again, sometimes the best of it ability is availability, and he is not shown to be available. And the way that his body is constructed is not sustainable.
Okay. Would you trade, before I get to my real point I want to make, Damian Lillard has expressed that he doesn't really want to go chase rings, quote unquote. He's good in Portland. Should the Trailblazers just trade him for his own good?
It's very interesting. He has taken the stance that he's not necessarily all about ring chasing and is comfortable in Portland and is cool with playing out his career however it may happen to let the chips fall where they may. But it's interesting that the league is not really going for that. Like, no, man, like that's too much of a talent to just be up there doing nothing. We could certainly use logo Lillard over here. And this is the time of the year when you get a bunch of those rumor mills and everybody throwing out their stories. I saw your boy Chris Haynes was like, Lillard. I don't know if you saw that trade. My phone was blowing up. It was Lillard for Hero, Robinson, Martin, some other player, 3 first-round picks was supposed to be the deal. 2 hours later, I hear like there is no deal without Bam Adebayo. So,
I heard the deal. I heard was they were trying to get
get Bam in Portland. Apparently, him and Dame have a good relationship. They're trying to get Bam in Portland. And I was like, yeah, I don't know why Bam would leave Miami to go to Portland. Like,
yeah, so that doesn't make any sense. So it only makes it. They can't be in the same space unless that first trade that Chris Haynes threw out there is really a thing, and in which case, Miami would have a much more difficult problem than even the aforementioned Phoenix Suns, because they would be trading, all of their good players.
But I got confidence in Miami being able to kind of backfill their players.
So you have more confidence in Miami being able to backfill than Phoenix, but they would still have the same exact problem.
Yeah, they would.
Just with an older Damian Lillard. So although he has said that he's perfectly comfortable and content with, how his career has played out and, the eventual end, however it may be, league is not having it. So if they can put together something to go and get him, they will.
But if you ran the Portland Trailblazers, it's kind of hard I know it's kind of wild to say give up your best player for, trying to rebuild, but would you give up your best player for a rebuild, just kind of for his own good, if you will?
It wouldn't really, it's not necessarily for his own good. I mean, for the sake of the franchise. I mean, you have to listen to all the offers. I mean, even though he's willing to, he's not, like you say, ring chasing, demanding a trade. You have to feel that as teams get more desperate, his value only increases. And the way the league is in the process of recalibrating itself at present, it's probably fairly likely that he's not going to be there next year.
So he made it clear that he wasn't, as you mentioned, going to quote unquote ring chasing, and that he didn't want to be a part of a rebuild. So that's kind of a contradiction there. This is a trade I found that I stumbled across a few hours before the show. Would you trade that number 3 pick for Paul George?
No.
And why not?
Has not proven to have the ability to stay healthy.
Yeah, I think the health ruins that trade as well. I mean, it'd be kind of weird that Dame is Dame and PG on the same squad, but yeah.
Plus that dynamic, of course. Yeah, no, that's never gonna work.
I mean, but PG is a good number 2, though. PG is a good number 2, but him and Dame playing together, like, I don't think PG would hold any ill will. He's not that type of dude. But yeah, it'd just be kind of weird for everybody to see these two players playing together. That'd be weird. What do your Lakers do? What number 17 and number 47?
Supposed to be getting the cat from Connecticut, the sharpshooter. I forgot his name. And then my man, Fred Van Vliet.
Now you're interested in Fred Van Vliet. Last week
he's free agent. So
last week you were ho hum. Last week it was all ho hum. Now
that was when you would have to give up capital and commodities and assets.
No, you're gonna have to pay. You're gonna have to pay him because he opted out of 22, so he is a clutch client. So you're gonna have to give him 30 or at least 25 for 4 years.
Well, hey man, you asked what was going on. Hey, the sharpshooter from Connecticut, Van Vliet's out there, and we'll see
Gary
what.
Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr. is out there too. That's what I heard. That
no, he got locked back in.
Oh, Toronto went and picked him up, huh?
Been gone, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So apparently, Chris Paul out there whining like, he didn't know he was going to be traded, and Isaiah did him wrong. I don't know if you kind of heard that, but whining and crying. So he's in Washington. Nobody really expects him to play out a season in Washington, and sounds like everything pointing for him to go back to either the Lakers or the Clippers, which would be, I say, absolutely, the Clippers. A lot of Clippers reporters that I kind of stay in contact with, they're excited. Yeah, let's bring him back. Let's bring him back. We need a point guard. I've been telling these numbskulls for 5 years.
Well, Cam. I mean, just to answer your question, you guys already have a point guard. I believe his name is Russell Westbrook. You guys should just go ahead and stay with him. Yeah,
no,
apparently,
apparently,
I'm gonna hang out in the purple and gold. That's cool. We can do that.
He's gonna have to. He's gonna have to. I don't think the Lakers can only offer him so much. I think the Clippers. Can
That's fine. That's fine. It's not about money. I mean, he just wants to be somewhere where he's, accepted, in his role, close to home, family, all those things. So yeah.
So you're gonna sit the son of Jarrell down for Chris Paul?
Well, I mean, the grandson of Jarrell will certainly get his opportunities because Chris Paul's not going to play a full season. So, yeah.
I mean, but he's stunning his growth. He's stunning his growth.
It can coexist. It's not stunning his growth for that long. A season or two. This is not like a long-term project type thing. Chris Paul doesn't have a whole bunch left. Let's not, get carried away with ourselves.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's absolutely ridiculous that these Clippers folks want him back on the squad. Like, and the word is that that he can coexist with Russell. You start Chris Paul, play Russell second quarter, third quarter, and then finish with Chris Paul. Like, come on, guys. I don't know. That's bringing a third guy into. You already have Kawhi, who's, as we know, injury prone. You have Paul George, as you mentioned earlier, who's injury prone, and now you're going to bring Chris Paul into the mix. I mean, there's a name for that. There's a word for that called insanity. Trying to count on all these guys who's injured to take you somewhere, it's called insanity. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. It does. I wouldn't do it, and it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly right. SB. Yeah, exactly right.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Okay, a little bit of a low blow there, but I see where you were going with that.
So I don't know. It doesn't make sense for me that the Clippers would entertain a Chris Paul reunion. One former Clipper, retired this week. How will you remember Lou Williams, the underground GOAT? Will you remember him as a 3-time Sixth Man of the Year award winner? Or will you remember him for his female house guests? How will you remember him?
I remember Lou Chicken Wing Williams for his off the court discretions, man. For sure. Yeah.
I mean, was it the discretion to go get this?
Going to the strip club during COVID. Yeah, that's how I'm gonna remember Lou Williams.
Yo, next time I go to Atlanta, I gotta go there for the chicken wings. I gotta see if I've heard that they're worth it. I've heard, but that's like somebody saying you look at the Playboy magazine for the articles. You read Playboy for the articles. So I don't know. I got to go try them out, check them out. And I'm going to bring you guys back a full report, fans, on the chicken wing from Magic City and see if they are what people say they are. I got to see. But that what Cleveland said, his off-the-court discretions going to the strip club during COVID. Woo! That's a cold one for the underground GOAT. I got a story that I tell you about Lou. If you ask me offline, I'll tell you a great story about Lou Williams. Oh my goodness, fantastic story. I'm just not gonna do the man dirty and tell him put his business out there in the streets, but I got a fantastic story about Lou Williams offline that I'd love to share. Are the Nuggets the favorite to win a ring next season?
No, you already see how quickly the league is recalibrating itself. Yeah, I mean they certainly have talent, and Joker is proven to be that dude, but okay. Whoa! I'm not letting you get away with this. Fans, and you shouldn't either. Hit this guy back. How can they find you? At Clevie Wonder on Twitter, Clevon still on Instagram.
I'm not letting you get away with this. You came up with your Faloney something. I've been doing the podcast with you since 2011, Cleveland. It's been a long time, bro. It's been a long time since we've been rocking. And I've never heard of this felonious rating metrics that you came up with before the playoffs this season. Well, I never heard of it. I made you describe it to the fans, and you came up with this BS
playoff metric. And now you have to anoint Joker. What is Joker now?
He is a basketball god.
What is Jamal Murray now?
He is a basketball god.
So now they got two of them on one team. And are you trying to tell me that this is not enough to get the Nuggets back to the NBA Finals next year? Two of them. Who else has two of these guys on the one team? Is Booker not?
The Lakers have two basketball gods. The Golden State Warriors have two basketball gods.
Well, they're kind of on the back end.
Phoenix Suns have one basketball god.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here.
What is Boston? What is Boston?
They have some usual suspects. No basketball.
Tatum and Brown.
Those are usual suspects.
Okay, so only one other team, who's long in the tooth, I might add, has two basketball gods. And this recent set of these newly formed, knighted basketball gods, swept these guys, right? Swept them on out. We can't even really discuss them, right? I mean, we shouldn't even really be talking about them. So you're telling me these newly knighted basketball gods cannot get back to the NBA Finals? When no other team in the league has them. No other team in the league.
Two things.
His own
the
argument.
league is not recalibrated itself. The league has not recalibrated itself just yet. And it's harder to get back to the NBA Finals than it looks. It's not just a cakewalk back.
Okay, but if they're gods, I mean, they rule the world. They rule the lands, don't they?
They have established themselves as having that potential. Ultimately, yeah.
But
it doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to do it.
Oh, so it really means nothing to be a basketball god.
No, it means everything with regards to how you actually win an NBA title. You certainly should have one of those. And I understand your argument that if they have two and no one else has two, then they should be the favorites. And that makes a lot of sense. I'm not contradicting myself. And
it sounds like you're choking on your own words.
No, I'm not contradicting myself and the criteria that I set up for how you win an NBA championship.
Hit us up in the chat, fans, @_voice of the fans
Simply
on Twitter.
saying
hit us up in the chat.
Them repeating as NBA champions.
He's choking on his own words right now.
It's going to be a challenge.
He's having trouble over there.
We'll know more when the league.
You need a water break? You need a water break?
We'll know more.
You need a piece of bread over there?
We'll know more when the league sets.
Go ahead and take a water break. We'll wait. The fans will wait.
No, I'm fine. I'm
the
good
fans
right
will
here.
wait.
No need for a water break.
So you already screaming that you want Van Vliet now, and now you went winking at Van Vliet when last week he waved at you. You didn't want to, you turn your head. He was waving, you turn your head, look the other way like you didn't see him. Now you see him. Now you're winking at him like we got a space for you. You might. That's kind of funny how you doing that. Is Van Vliet? Is he a basketball god? He got a ring.
No.
I mean, he was part of that team.
He was a part of that team. Just one god on that team, though. His name's Kawhi Leonard.
Okay. At least you give him Kawhi. Still giving Kawhi some kind of love. What about James Harden? Are you interested in James Harden running your point?
I'm not interested in James Harden running the point. I mean, I'm sure there are some teams that would be interested in that.
Yo, so who came up with this? Or I came up with this one actually this morning. Philly would have to sign Harden and have to do a sign and trade. But who would say no? Damian Lillard for James Harden. Who would say no? You'd have to throw in.
Portland would say no.
I thought I threw in Maxey. I threw in Maxey to sweeten up that deal.
Oh boy, no, they're not doing anything even remotely. Like Maxey's not part of any deal.
I mean, do you want Dame Lillard and Joel Embiid? Dame Lillard, Joel Embiid?
No.
You got Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris made too much money. That's not going to work. What would you do? You're not interested in that?
Not interested.
For James Harden?
Nope.
I mean, if you say there's all those strip clubs in Portland, James Harden might find a new home. He might be happy there.
Well, that's true. I mean, he
might
be invigorated for a little while, but yeah, James Harden's past it, man.
Huh?
He's past it. He has to be like your third or fourth best player.
So do you? I mean, geez, do you resign? Do you resign? If you're Philadelphia, do you resign Harden? Are you looking to resign Harden to keep that pairing going between him and?
Yeah, that's your best case scenario. You got to try and run it back.
Now, Nick Nurse, former Van Vliet's ex-coach, is now running the 76ers. What do you think about Van Vliet and the pairing of Van Vliet and Embiid?
Nah, that doesn't mean anything.
Oh, because you like Van Vliet on the West Coast.
Well, I mean, Van Vliet.
You trying to make a home
on the West Coast?
I'm sorry.
I said Van Vliet likes it on the West Coast. I mean,
no, Van he's from the north of the border, so I'm not sure he understands which is which right now.
He's not from there. That's where he plays, but he's not.
Well, he went to. I'm not sure where he's from, but he went to Wichita. He went to Wichita State, so I'm not sure. Playing in a big city, it means everything for Fred VanVleet. Again, he went to Wichita State, so you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's just where he got his scholarship from, but that's quite some time ago.
Where is VanVleet from? Where is he from? Rockford, Illinois. So
yeah.
I mean, so he might be partial to the East Coast. Who knows? So Golden State, I mean, what do you do with we talked about resigning Green because that's the best fit for him. That's where he makes the most sense. I agree with you on that. Can't argue that. Do you trade Poole? Anybody interested in Poole? Jordan Poole?
No, he doesn't really have any value at this point. I mean,
if you think there's value for DeAndre Ayton, there has to be some value for Jordan Poole.
It was not a stellar year for him last year. They tried to somewhat give him a little bit more of a autonomy to do things, and he just wasn't what they were expecting or hoped that he could be. And maybe he never recovered from the punch from Draymond.
Yeah,
that was alluded to that as well. So right now his trade value is not high enough to trade him.
But if you think you can get 2 first rounders for DeAndre Ayton.
DeAndre Ayton is 7 feet tall. That's
now that 7 foot matters.
7 foot always matters.
I've been trying to say this for the last 3 weeks. You've been poo-pooing my explanation of why they should keep him. Now you saying that's worth something. I don't get it. Well, 1 7-footer, man. I don't know if you heard this podcast with your boy Karl Anthony Towns and Patrick Beverly. Did you hear that podcast? Did you hear what he had to say?
Enlighten me.
First of all, he said a few just kind of shocking revelations in this podcast. He mentioned that Minnesota getting to the play-in tournament was more impressive than the Nuggets winning the championship. That was the first thing he said. Okay. Ridiculous thing he said. Was like, okay, I didn't hear the podcast. I heard what he said, but I didn't listen to the podcast. But right then I probably would have turned it off. Like, okay, enough of you, dude. And then, as if that wasn't enough, he went on to say, when he's done playing in the NBA, sitting around the table with his grandchildren, people will see him at dinner and say that guy changed the game. Now, I don't know what game he was actually talking about. I'm not sure what game he was referring to, but it couldn't have been his game in the NBA, which unfortunately, I think he was referring to. How preposterous was that, Mr. Cleveland?
Well, he did win the 3-point contest. So therefore, I mean, just, the best shooting big man, in the history of the game, probably, in his own mind. So that's probably how he was figuring that he had changed the game. The only other way you can say that he changed the game was by driving really strong personalities out of the team. So just had a bunch of softies around him, changed the game in that respect. But
oh my goodness, made it more softer game of basketball.
Made softer.
Oh my goodness, what a ridiculous!
More into your feelings and whatnot.
Oh my goodness, how ridiculous was this dude, man? It was. Oh my goodness. With that said, we're going to move on, man. We're going to move on to our This Week in History segment with that preposterous statement. Cleveland, yesterday is June 19th. Obviously, Juneteenth, became a federal holiday in 2021. In June 19th, 1865, marked the end of slavery. Well, it was actually marked 1863 was the end of slavery, but it wasn't until 1965 that the slaves were actually made aware that slavery was abolished, and it became the longest running holiday. And again, as of 2021, well, it was 2021, it became a good point right there. A good point on your boy, Karl Anthony Towns. But it wasn't until 2021 where that actually became a holiday. So you said you had a concert yesterday that it was in the rain, huh? Where did you guys go?
Yeah, so a free concert at a Jimi Hendrix Park. They set up some food vendors and tents and whatnot, and kind of celebrating Juneteenth. It was everything was going cool. About 6 o'clock, started raining though, and then I just couldn't hang and wait for Kweli. So eventually he did come on, and ironically, by the time I got home, it had stopped raining, but it was downpouring when I was there.
Cleveland, you have not been in rain until you've been in rain down here in the South. You have not been in real rain until you've been in rain down here in the South. For the past week, I will tell you guys, irrelevant to the show, these thunderstorms, and I swear an airplane is landed on my roof the way these thunderstorms has been hitting us this last week. And it's been coming down. Now today, it started raining out of nowhere. Like the sun was shining, the sun was out, and then all of a sudden it just a literal downpour. Like that little mist that you guys get, that little mist and drizzle that you guys get up there, where you can run to your car and roll up your windows real quick. No, if you're down because 2 gallons is already in your car. And you haven't been in rain till you've been in rain in the South. I forgot what this was like, but yeah, just a reminder: bring your umbrella, and you can't get the umbrella at the CVS store. That umbrella is not going to work down here. You need the umbrella from the umbrella store down here, because that CVS umbrella don't stand a chance down here. Yeah, it's wild stuff. Cleveland, June 25th, 1863, President Abe Lincoln, then President Abe Lincoln, signed a bill providing public schools for black children, 1863. Surprise, surprise. And you can kind of know through the Jim Crow era and how those effective those schools were and how supported those schools were through the years. But yeah, in 1863, he did sign that deal, though. 1912, June 19, 1912, Tennessee University opened as Tennessee A&L State College. June 20th, 1936, Cleveland, your man Jesse Owens. Shit. Fuck. Got a fucking. I'm sorry, fans. Did you see that?
I saw it the first time.
The fucking fly. I didn't see that shit at all. You didn't even warn me, huh?
I didn't know what it was.
The fucking
saw
fly.
it the first time. I was like, huh, that's a big whatever. And you didn't like miss
I didn't
a
see
beat.
it.
I'm like, okay. You must like already know what that is. And
The fuck no, I just shit flying around. I just fucking shit. Oh boy. Whew. I'm sorry, fans.
That's those down south bugs,
man,
that are about this big that you don't even think can fly.
That ain't that funny. That ain't that funny.
Fly at you.
Shit, I didn't know what that shit was. Whew. All right. Let's get back. Let's get back on track. June 20th, 1936, Jesse Owens sets the 100-meter record at 2.2 seconds. He first one go. He sets the record at 200 for the 100-meter at 10.2 seconds. June 23rd, 1940, Wilma Rudolph, former polio victim, won 3 gold medals in the Olympic Games. In 1968, on June 20th, Jim Hines became the first person to run the 100 meters in under 10 seconds, 9.8, I think it was. June 20th, 1980, Roberto Duran takes WBC welterweight title, from Sugar Ray Leonard at the Olympic Stadium in Montreal. That's 1980. June 20th, 1994. You remember June 17th, 1994, though?
Sure do.
There was June 17th, 1994. You remember that day? There was a 30 for 30 on that day.
30 on that one, yeah.
30 for 30. Do you know where you were watching? I think it was game 2 of the NBA Finals. I think it was game 2 of the NBA Finals, Houston in New York, when the NBA Finals. Now, I didn't watch. I may have saw it, but wasn't paying attention in fact, I did see the Sonics when the Sonics won the NBA Finals in 79. But I don't know. Apparently, it was tape delayed. I don't remember that. I don't remember that delay. I just remember, okay, the game's on. We're going to watch the game. I do remember being late at night, though. It was dark after the celebration. So I remember that part. But June 17th, do you remember where you were when NBC had the picture-in-picture and went from the finals game to the car chase?
Cam, I want to say I was at Hooters down on Lake Union.
Woo! When they broke in the car chase and everybody's like, what? I remember I had just moved into an apartment in Virginia. Just moved, like I was there maybe a week watching it on my little tube TV. It didn't have the antennas so my picture was kind of fuzzy, but I was able to see the game. And then here we go, breaking news. O.J. Simpson in the car with the gun, thinking about committing suicide, and they go on this chase. And it was the slow speed chase. I'm like, what? O.J.? Not O.J. And sure enough. So in 6/20, 1994, O.J. was arraigned on murder for Nicole and Goldman. Cleveland, did he do it?
Oh, Cam, that's not for me to say. That he was judged by a jury of his peers, and I'm not.
Oh, you're not at liberty. You're not at liberty to say, huh?
Not at liberty to say.
All right, Cleveland. Let me see if I can do this, man. Little reason why I was late. I was trying to put this thing together for you. Let me see if I can do this. I don't know, man. You could tell us whether you think he was guilty or not. Like,
oh well, I mean, after seeing all of the the evidence and that documentary as well,
the preponderance of evidence that they had on my man.
Yeah, it very much looks like it was kind of that way. Yeah,
It didn't look good for my man.
That didn't look good. I think that really the question comes down to, was he by himself? Yeah.
Was he by himself? That's your question?
I think that's really the only outstanding question. I think all the rest of the information, especially over the years, has kind of come to that conclusion that that's probably what happened.
I don't have a problem telling you. I think he did it. It looked that way. All the evidence looked that way. It just so happens, he was trying to get him some, and that's the kind of way I remember. I think the story went. He was trying to go back and get him some before he left out of town because he knew he was leaving, and then he saw who was there, and then Goldman said something that wasn't too pleasing to the ex-NFL football player, and he went in the house and went to slicing and dicing, and it was left an unfriendly scene, and went home, got on a plane. And man, that was amazing. That was amazing. And just how it caught the whole world, man. That's how so many TMZ started, or TMZ started after that. Court TV started after that. Like that impacted television in a big way after that situation. Like more than
that one lawyer's daughters are really, really wealthy after that.
Oh well, yeah, Shapiro and the family.
No, their names are Kardashian, actually.
That was Shapiro, his ex-girl, and everybody. Yeah, but I think that was more so after he died that they got their insurance money and they turned that around. But there was they took advantage of the situation kind of. I think after he died, they hit it big, and Kris Jenner kind of did her took advantage of every opportunity, that every camera that came her way.
For sure, and they all did. I mean, everyone involved in that trial was instantly famous for quite some time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. From Darden to
Marcia Clark,
Ito,
to
again, that took the world by storm, man. That really took the world by storm right there. That was a different scenario, a different time, obviously. But yeah, that again took the world by storm, and television will never be the same after that incident. So waiting on this. Here we go. Okay, boom. All right. So I'm gonna try to show you something here. Ask you before we get started, Cleavon. Tell me your thoughts on Bob Huggins and kind of what the situation you see this dude in right now. I mean, Bob Huggins had the racial slur, then less than a month ago, and then he had the DUI situation. Do you think he's deserving, or that situation is receiving the proper the press, similar to Ja Morant? Do you think this Bob Huggins situation is receiving the press that it deserves?
Yeah, absolutely it is.
You think it is?
Yeah. I mean, he certainly got quite a bit of backlash for the homophobic slurs that he had on the radio previously. This is his second DUI, being over the 0.2 mark. So it was my understanding that he's already resigned from his coaching position.
He has.
So I think he definitely has gotten the publicity and content that it's deserving of.
Okay, yeah, because I think it's just kind of came up as a blip. I don't think it's been actually widely reported, if you will. It's been reported, but it not in the same situation that Ja Morant situation has been covered. I'll say that.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ja Morant's a star player. That's different. So,
all right. So let me know if you can. Let's see. Yeah. Basically. All right. So here's something I was trying to put together for the show. Reason I was late. And as you guys know, we got Spence Crawford we're on the horizon. So let's take a look at this here. Can you hear this, Cleveland?
Got it.
The two-division world champion from Omaha, Nebraska. The renowned star of boxing and pound-for-pound great, undefeated in his 39 bouts with 30 wins by way of knockout. Here is the undisputed 140-pound world champion and the current undefeated WBO welterweight champion of the world, Terrence Bud Crawford.
So I want to take a look at this, and you tell me who you think won this press conference.
DeSoto, Texas, the acclaimed star of the sport and popular pound-for-pound great. He is undefeated, 28 wins, no losses, 22 wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the current undefeated unified WBA, WBC, and IBF welterweight champion of the world, the Truth, Errol Spence Jr. There they are, ladies and gentlemen, two of boxing's top pound-for-pound fighters facing off for the very first time ahead of their collision course. The showdown, scheduled July 29th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Premier Boxing Champions presents Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Bud Crawford, live on Showtime pay-per-view.
I actually got a gift for each and every one of y'all. Why? Because I love y'all. Because without y'all, there's no us. So I'm going to give y'all a gift with the presence of myself and Errol. July 29th, I'm going to show each and every one of y'all why. This era is the Terrence Crawford era. Come fight night, he called himself the big fish, right? But what you do when the fish get took out the water, you suffocate them. Let's go.
So I want everybody to tune in July 29th, come to the fight, because we're going to have a crawfish boil. So everybody make sure they're there, man. It's going to be enough for everybody, I promise you that.
No man have captured undisputed in two different weight classes.
Teofimo did last week.
Teofimo definitely wasn't. He was lineal, correction, but he wasn't undisputed. Sorry, Derek.
Definitely not, man. I'm not going to lie. Tyron got the best matchmakers in the business. You ain't fought nobody, man. You haven't beat anybody undisputed at 140. Who you fought at 135 and who you fought at 147. Even you fought Sean Porter. Even Sean Porter said,
"What did I do to Sean Porter that you couldn't
Sean
do?"
Porter said he did not train like he should. He didn't do the things that his daddy told him to do. What are you talking about? Even his daddy said it. Even his daddy said it.
You butthurt that I got the
Even his daddy said it.
You butthurt.
Even Cal Brook, he was already broken.
So was he broken when you fought him?
No, he wasn't broken.
How come
I broke the other eye.
You're right.
What you talking about? I had the same surgery he had. And what happened? So what they say about you then? You fight me then.
I'm gonna break the other eye.
So what they say? So I'm broken then, right?
Well, you broken. You're gonna be broken July 29th.
Yeah, we gonna see.
You're gonna be broken.
So that begs the question, Errol. What does a win mean to you specifically on the 29th?
It just mean he's a great fighter. It just mean I broke another great fighter will, and I broke him down mentally, physically, and I came out on top.
Never.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
You know, Errol, the interesting thing is you are the unified welterweight champion. You've taken away everyone's strap, it seems like, in this division, yet you're the Vegas underdog coming into this fight. Does that motivate you? Does that upset you? Your feelings on that?
Well, nah, I don't pay attention to it. I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, everything I've been through throughout these 2-3 years, I mean, I should be the underdog. But I mean, it is what it is, man. A lot of people become underdog and they end up winning. So that's why it's a bet.
They know what's gonna happen. That's why.
But I want to ask you about that. I loved it on social media. You characterized July 29th as a fish fry. Can you enlighten the people on what you meant by that?
I'm gonna gut them. I'm gonna feed them to everybody that eat fish in here. Call yourself the big fish. We're gonna have enough food for everybody.
We'll see. We'll definitely see.
Put some potatoes on the side of it too.
Hey man, y'all go to ESJ.com, thetruth.com, and go buy that hot pack, man. We're gonna roll him up and smoke him in Vegas.
We'll see.
Errol?
We don't smoke over here.
It's legal in Vegas, man. We gonna roll him up and smoke him.
All we do is
man,
fish fillet.
We gonna roll him up and smoke him, man.
We go hunting over here, and
like I said, we gonna roll him up and smoke this dude. That's how it always is. It's gonna be a one-sided ass whooping. You know, it's gonna probably take a few rounds, but he's a stubborn dude. So, but we're gonna, like I said, man, everybody get broke. We're gonna break him, man. We're gonna break him like a horse.
I'm ready. And he'll give me my respect after the fight. Right now, he in the mode of.
I give you respect now.
No.
I give you respect now.
I'm talking about when I whip that ass, you gonna really.
I give you respect now. I give you respect now.
Damn.
Talk about Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford. This is the biggest fight in boxing, period. Especially action-packed wise. If you know his mentality, you know my mentality. You already know, man. We going for the victory, but a tough victory. I know he's not gonna try to break. I'm definitely not breaking. So it's gonna be all out war. I think it's gonna be tactical in the first couple rounds, but as rounds go on, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna try to break his will. He's gonna try to break my will, and we both gonna go for the victory. Everybody tune in July 29th is gonna be a all-out war, action-packed fight, and you're gonna want to tune in to this fight because this fight is gonna be talked about for decades.
I know I said it. They were my words. I want your response to that. You believe the winner, pound for pound, best fighter in the world?
The winner of this fight is definitely the best fighter in the world. I mean, pound for pound, that's all. You know, I don't know how they judge that, but everybody know this the best fighter in the world. Whoever wins this fight, this creme de la creme. This the best fighter in the world. No questions asked. No nothing. So make sure everybody tune in to this fight.
Bud Crawford, same question to you. For all those thousands of people who will come out to T-Mobile Arena, spend their hard-earned money, buy the pay-per-view on Showtime pay-per-view, what can you guarantee they're going to get on July 29th?
I can guarantee everybody is going to witness something special that night. Errol Spence, he don't like to back up. I'm the type of fighter where you push, I push even harder. You hit me, I want to fight even harder. He got a big heart. I got a big heart. He loved to fight. I love to fight. And it just makes for a great action-packed fight with a lot of, excitement in it. So July 29th is going to be a great night for boxing. I feel like this is definitely a legacy fight and a fight that should be talked about in the whole boxing community, if it's not all through the social medias outlets. But I do believe that this is an old school type fight where, you got all the greats fighting each other. Like I said, in this era, this is the great fighting each other. So yeah, tune in July 29th, buy the fight if you can't be there.
Love it. All right, I know we got some questions from members of the media. All we ask is that you identify yourself, tell us who you're with, and ask your question.
How you doing? Tyler Times from the Los Angeles Times. Just wondering for Bud first, what took so long for y'all to finally come together and do the fight?
Listen, it doesn't matter what took so long. All that matters is we here now. I'm excited. Everybody else excited. And July 29th, myself and Errol Spence will be sharing the ring together, putting on a great show for each and every one of you guys.
Did I hype you up, Cleavon? Did I hype you up? Did they get you ready? Since you've been crying for this fight, you ain't want to talk about no boxing until this fight was made. Does this hype you up even more for the fight?
A little bit. I mean, they didn't go. They both have somewhat kind of mild mannered personalities with regards to that. So it wasn't a bunch of name calling and a derogatory admission of what the other person has done or hasn't done. A little bit of that. Ain't fought nobody, blah blah blah. But they kept it pretty civil. I do know who's going to win the fight, at least the first one, and then we'll see how the trilogy goes. But
wait, who do you have winning the fight?
Oh, Bud Crawford's going to win the first one.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yeah.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
Because of the bitterness and resentment for Errol Spence ducking him for so long.
Errol Spence ducking him for so long?
Yeah.
Really?
We're
gonna have to put something on this one.
So, son, I mean, if Errol comes back and gets 2 and 3, then okay, well, then he's kind of proving something, but he's not gonna get one.
This is gonna be a hell of a fight. I like them both. I like both fighters. I just think Errol Spence, he digs too much, man. He's gonna be digging in Crawford's body, and once he starts doing that in the third and fourth round, like he's just gonna kind of start walking through him, and he's gonna those body shots and his body attack is gonna negate Bud's athleticism and his craftiness, and it's gonna become a straight up mano a mano fighting in the phone booth. And I'm not sure, I hate to say it, but I'm not sure Crawford can withstand this pounding that Spence is got. Did you watch the Dennis Ugas fight? Did you watch the Dennis Ugas fight with Spence and Ugas?
I think I did see a little bit of that. It was all right, man.
Ugas, first of all, Ugas beat Pacquiao. So we were surprised by that. He was a bigger, stronger man. He beat Pacquiao. It was by decision, but he beat Pacquiao. Dennis caught Bud a couple times, but it was the 6th and 7th round where it took the 6th and 7th round where those body shots just start wearing on him. Ugas was a bigger guy, Cuban fighter. He was the bigger fighter going into the ring. But again, 6th and 7th round, after Spence has been going to the body with them, the jab going to the body, then it just opened up everything else for him, and he just kind of dominated that fight. And I see kind of the similar thing happening. Crawford is more crafty. I'll give him that. Crawford is going to be, he's more crafty, and he knows he's more athletic. But Spence is kind of the boxer versus the crafty, fluid, boxer puncher style that Crawford has. And I just think after a few rounds of him wearing on him, like he's going to slow him down, and he's not going to be able to dance anymore. He's not going to be able to be as crafty and come up with these creative shots. And that's where Spence is going to dominate in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. And whether he gets him out of there or not, I'm not going to go for the knockout. I'm not going to say he's going to knock him out, but that's where I see his advantage showing in the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round. And that's where I expect him to show his superior skills. How do you see the fight going?
I see that Bud Crawford just putting a lot of pressure on him and basically wearing down Errol Spence Jr. Just with the caliber of fighter that he is. That I don't, Errol Spence talks about, Crawford not fought anybody, but who is, what's Errol Spence's, signature fight?
So to your point, the similar fight. One of their most recent common opponent is Sean Porter. To your point, Sean Porter's dad threw in the towel against Crawford. To your point, he actually he hit him, and it was ruled a knockdown, but he went to the kind of fell to his knees, hit his hand on the glove on the mat, and they called that a knockdown. So to your point, however, Spence ain't Porter. Spence ain't Porter. And so I just don't see it going that way. It's gonna be a great fight. You get everybody tune in. So that was the LA press conference. Next week I'll show you guys. I'll cut it up. This was longer than I wanted to go, but I'll cut it up. I'll try to get it down to 4 or 5 minutes of the highlights from the New York press conference, because they have press conferences back-to-back days. So I'll show you that and see if that was get you even a little bit more going. But we're getting closer to the fight. Tim Tszyu pummels Carlos Ocampo over the weekend. I don't know if you saw that one. He knocked him out in one round at 154, and then he called out Jermell Charlo immediately after the fight. He asked the people in the ring, what's my he played the Snoop Dogg line, what's my name? And he's calling for Jermell Charlo, which we ought to see this fight by October, or Charlo has to give up his Charlo has to vacate his belts, and I know Charlo don't want to vacate his belt, so we're going to see this fight. Tim Tszyu, if you haven't seen that fight, it only went one round. I know it's going to be on Showtime again. Make sure you see that fight. Cleveland, there's been reports that there's been over 300 incidents of Georgia football players and their driving violations over the last couple of years. 300 incidents in I don't know if you've seen this or not, but in and around the campus of Georgia, there's been a whole lot of incidents of these players just kind of being reckless and driving reckless and getting pulled over for multiple violations. Who is to blame for this? Is this coaching? Or the lack of coaching at Georgia? Is this young players just, black players just in the wrong place in the wrong time? Is there a blame for this?
Success is to blame for this, Cam. You see this with all dominant college football programs. Dan Le Batard is I think probably the first to really allude to it, as plain and as simple as it is. I mean, there's a direct correlation between the amount of arrests that you get and the amount of wins that you get. More wins you get, the more arrests you get. Obviously, Georgia is not a state wherein it's got a lot of areas where those rules are going to be like enforced. So obviously they're driving on kind of open roads, right? So easier to pull them over, and it's cultural. Everyone's doing it, so everyone's just kind of following suit, and they just get caught.
Wow, it's okay. San Diego State now looking for a home, looking for a league to play in. It's kind of a weird situation. They asked out, or they didn't ask out. They kind of signed up thinking they're going to join the Pac-12. Pac-12 said, hold up there. We'll check out your resume. And then the Mountain West kind of looked at that as a resignation and said, we don't know if we want you back in our league. Now that they're kind of homeless right now. How do you think this situation works itself out?
Not well thought out. They didn't think it all the way through. That before you make those type of decisions, you should have some conversations with the potential other conference that you're looking to join. And if you don't really have either like a handshake deal or some very positive signs, it's a little premature to make the jump and then ask the question, right?
Yeah, hey man, they thought they had their ducks in a row. They thought the Pac-12 was eager for somebody and eager to take them, and apparently that wasn't the case. Looks like Larry Brown is going to be joining the staff here at the UW. I mean, how you like that? You going to go to any more UW games because as he joins the squad, joins the staff there?
Larry Brown played back when they were shooting into peach baskets. So I don't really think that his knowledge is going to take the program to the next level, or even be really all that beneficial. To be perfectly honest with you, I was a little embarrassed they took on Larry Brown.
He has some rings though. You like rings? He can bring some jewelry. Oh, all of a sudden his rings ain't no good. His rings ain't wanted on the Montlake campus. All of a sudden,
that man is 82 years old. He needs to just be thinking about fishing and golf, man. What these cats are doing out here in 2023, 2024, hoop wise, that should be none of his concern, really.
Cleavon, I've been asking you for weeks and weeks and weeks. Are you ready to announce Shohei Ohtani as the best player in the world of baseball? Cleavon, are you ready to announce Shohei Ohtani as the best player in the world of baseball?
Cam, he's having a really good year so far.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
You know what I'm saying?
1 year. He's only been doing this one season.
He's having a really good year so far. And, some may even call him the front runner for the most valuable player in the league.
I think he's won that already. I think he's won that a couple times.
I don't think it's been a couple times. But
but he's won it. He's been already nominated the best player in the league.
So,
that's
again, as I said, he is the front runner. Judge is still doing his thing now.
Judge has been out. Judge has been out since he robbed you guys of a home run. Judge has been
put up big numbers. There are some other players, that are doing some things. So right now, I would have to say that Shohei is a front runner, and
he's a front runner.
I'll just leave it at that.
So he's batting 300, which is number 13 in all of Major League Baseball. His on-base percentage is 16.
Cam,
he's number one in slugging.
Will you stat me to death trying to make your point, man? Yeah, he leads the league in home runs. He's probably like third or fourth in strikeouts. Has a great ERA. Yeah, he's an all-around player. I mean, he does it all.
But you're not really anointing him as the best player in baseball.
Again, it's a long season.
It's a long season. We're halfway through the season.
Yeah, we're only halfway through the season. We don't know what these other players are going to do. We'll have to see. But right now, he is the front runner for most valuable player.
Is a better play in baseball, Cleavon? Is it stealing a home run? Is it stealing home, or snatching a grand slam away from a batter? What's a better play in baseball?
Snatching a grand slam away from a batter.
Ooh, didn't that happen to the Mariners just last week?
I saw where you were going with that. I saw where the setup was going. Yeah, the Miami Marlins did that.
Jose Sanchez was his name.
Yeah, he snatched one away from Eugenio Suarez. Yeah, I was watching. It's cold-blooded.
Ooh, in the bottom of the ninth? Did that happen in the bottom of the ninth? Woo, that had a sting, didn't it?
It did.
That had a sting.
Yeah, I see you trying to open up old wounds like that. Okay.
And the Marlins, you want to talk about you want to talk about investments and who does what, and it's the Marlins out here making things happen. So Luis Uria, he's at 400 right now, halfway through the season. Can he hold on?
No.
He can't hold on?
No.
For 400? Okay. I would say let's talk Mariners, but once again, they're under 500, and it's don't want to waste nobody's time talking about scrubby squad. So what's happening? What's the score of the game right now? What they doing right now? Let the people know what they're doing right now.
Mariners lost today to the Yankees 3-1. It's a tough game.
Another loss. At least they got a point on the board, huh? At least they put something on the board. They
did score a run. Thanks for mentioning.
At least they got a run on the board, so it wasn't a complete swipe. So they travel a long way just for a spanking, huh? That's a Mariners squad. All right, fans, we're going to leave you guys with this quote. Thank you guys for hanging in there this long with us, Voice of the Fans. Again, this is week 246 of the Voice of the Fans podcast. I'm going to end the show with this quote. The pessimist sees difficult in every opportunity. The optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. One more time, Cleveland, for the people in the back. The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. That's Mr. Winston Churchill with that quote. Mm-hmm. Don't be a pessimist, folks. Don't be a pessimist. Be positive. Even if the Mariners stink, you got to have the confidence that Cleveland keeps showing week after week. That one day we'll talk about the Mariners. One day we will. But I want to thank you guys for being a part of the show. Thank Tyler Dragon for being a part of the show, imparting his knowledge on us. You can hit him up at _ the Tyler, or excuse me, hit him up at the Tyler Dragon, at the Tyler Dragon on Twitter. Cleveland, where can they find you?
At Cleveland Wonder on Twitter, Cleveland Still on Instagram.
And you hit up the show at _ Voice of the Fans. Hit up the show at _ Voice of the Fans anytime during the week. Make sure you guys check out our Sunday special. Just did one this Sunday here. We have a Sunday special, a brief edition of the show. At Voice of the Fans on YouTube. Again, at _ Voice of the Fans on Twitter. Make sure you check us out. And fans, as always, want to thank you for making our voice your choice. Thank you, guys.